Welcome in on this snowy Wednesday, depending on where you're at in the state of Wisconsin anyway. Not much of a snow. Kind of a slickery outside, but not bad at all. Welcome. Hopefully you're safe. I know there's snowpack in the northern area of Wisconsin, but getting a little bit of it here in the southeastern portion and the south central portion of the state of Wisconsin, but not nearly what could have hit us, what's going through from about Chicago to Indianapolis. They're getting just pelted with snow right now. But beyond that, good morning to all of you. And Aaron Rodgers spoke yesterday while we were on the air. And you know, when Ben Kenny was saying, hey, we're going to talk a lot about this tomorrow and get it all together. And yeah, there's a lot to nosh on here. And I got to tell you, now I've been up since about, it was actually 4:06 when I woke up this morning and couldn't go back to sleep. So pardon the voice. And maybe we're just giving it back and forth to one another. Kristen was here and she was sick over the weekend. And I think I got what she had. And it's, you know, the head congestion, the throat drainage, you know, feels like your face is made of cement and such. And it is what it is. But anyway, that being said, welcome into the program. Glad to have you. By the way, Andrew says send some snow up to Eau Claire. No snow in Eau Claire, really? I thought there would be. There'd be all kinds of snow up in that area. Angela, good morning to you and everybody on the Bud Light live stream. Ben Kenny hanging out today. We've got Pete Doherty today, Bill Huber today from SI. And Ben, you've got, you're all giddy because there's golf news and stuff going on. Aaron Rodgers is playing in the Pebble Beach Pro-Am, and you know, Rory McIlroy is going off on Patrick Reed, who's suing everybody. So, which is, you know, anytime you get embroiled in a good golf scandal, you just sit there and roll your hands and salivate over it. So that made your morning, I'm sure, right?
I am entertained, Bill. That's how I'm feeling today.
Okay.
Just genuine entertainment from all angles. And yes, I do think the biggest news to come out of Rodgers' McAfee thing was the fact that he is playing in the Pebble Beach Pro-Am.
That's the biggest thing to come out of it.
Well, to me, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Nice.
And a drop where he says he's offended. That was good.
Okay. Good stuff. Well, you know, I'm liking it. We got a lot to get to when it comes to the Aaron Rodgers stuff. And I know you're probably rolling your eyes going, oh God, are you kidding me? No,
I'm offended.
Yeah, I'm not kidding you. I'm not kidding you. So I woke up today though, and not when I started thinking about this at, 4:06 this morning, but I had a meeting at let me back up. I had a early meeting today. We were down at Potawatomi Hotel Casino, and I had an early breakfast meeting. And because of the snow, there was like 4 or 5 people that were in this meeting, and they're coming back as a sponsor for the motorcycle ride this year. So we were talking about some of the details because we're getting ready to make an announcement. And they, a couple of people that were supposed to be there didn't get here early. I don't know if for those of you that follow the weather and the roads in Milwaukee, there was a semi truck with 40,000 pounds of paper that overturned on one of the ramps, and it shut the ramps down in both directions from 43 to 894. And so traffic was just a mess this morning. So a couple of people were coming from that area, so they didn't make it right away. So 8:30, 10. So I had to get out of there at like 10 after 9 to kind of battle my way through traffic to be able to get home, to have at least 15 minutes to spare to come in, grab a glass of water, come upstairs and turn all the equipment on. So that's kind of the way it was. Anyway, so I'm sitting here driving in this morning, and I'm listening to all the radio conjecture. I'm listening to Sirius. So there's Barstool Sports, there's Fox Radio, there's ESPN, there's all the different talking points, NFL. So I'm just flipping around this morning, and I'm listening locally. And it's like people have flipped from believing Rodgers is coming back to believing Rodgers is being traded. I saw what Andrew Brandt tweeted out too, by the way, where now Andrew Brandt said that this was going to be a divorce years ago, and he just believes it's coming sooner rather than later. And he believes that this is it. Just because he kind of knows the way the Packers operate, and he's actually surprised they ran it back this long, to take another shot at it. But what Rodgers said yesterday, I thought this was a rather poignant remark when he talked about his contract going forward. Take a listen to what he had to say.
But is the contract like something that you have to think about in this whole thing?
I don't think there'd be a scenario where I'd come back and that would be the number. I think it would definitely things would have to shift.
In other words, that would be, when he says things would have to shift, that means he's talked about restructuring. He's talked about voidable years. He's talked about kind of giving some money back and making it more acceptable for the Packers. Now, he didn't quantify it, by the way. I know Schefter went off and everybody started texting. Did you see what Schefter said? Stop. Schefter was also the guy that was guaranteeing Aaron Rodgers was not coming back. Now, remember, Schefter's agent is Aaron Rodgers' agent. So there might be some smoke to the fire here. So I understand that. I'm not negating it completely. But Schefter made it sound like, well, for him to come back, that if he has to go somewhere else, he'll make it a better contract so they can make a trade earlier. So it doesn't cripple the Packers. Whereas I listened to that and all I kept thinking was, he knows. One, if you ask for guys to come back and you don't have the money to pay them, you don't have the money to pay them. And two, he knows he needs another veteran wideout. He knows he needs a little bit of help, right? So he's willing to restructure and do some things in voidable years and whatever to go on down the road. Now he talks about actually meeting with Brian Gutekunst and his future.
I wouldn't say that happened in the conversation. No, I don't think that'd be a proper representation of it. I think it's more just living in the reality of what is. And what is they drafted my replacement. And if I didn't win 2 COVID MVPs, this conversation probably would have happened earlier. But in a year where I'm not going to win MVP, it allows for all the different conjecture. Is Jordan ready? Is it time to move on? The Packers have had this interesting view on personnel from conjecture from outside the building that it's better to move on a year before a guy is done than a year after. And is that the mindset for them deep down? Now, as an organization, they're obviously not going to say any of that. Why would you? There's not a whole lot to be won. And often, unfortunately, in times, as was mentioned by Mark Murphy last year, in a situation where there doesn't need to be sides, there can be sides that are drawn. Like, there's not sides here. It's not me against the Packers. It never was me against the Packers. It was a strong desire to be a part of some meaningful change in an organization moving forward. And I feel like we, because of some of the conversations that we had, there was some good movement on that. And I'm proud of some of the things that seem to change. And I think they're important things long after I'm done playing that are going to be important for the organization to continue to embrace. And I think that's the beauty in the relationship that we've cultivated is some great conversation and some real honest and direct conversation. That being said, I'm open to all honest and direct conversation. And if they felt like it was in the best interest of the team to move forward, so be it. That wouldn't offend me. That wouldn't make me feel like a victim. I wouldn't have any animosity towards the team. I love the team. I love the organization. I love the city. I love the region. I'm a minority owner in the Bucs. Like, I'm going to be a part of the region long after I'm done playing. Like, I have a lot of love for what's going on in Green Bay, and I'd love to finish there. I would, and I might have finished there. Who knows? When I talk about my future, I don't talk in any cryptic terms. I'm pretty direct about how I feel, and I am taking time on my decision, and I am, not, egomaniacal in a sense to think that, I should be able to play wherever I want as long as I want. There's two sides to this.
There you go. There's a lot there. But a couple of things he said that caught my ear. One is, he sounds like a guy that wants to come back. He sounds like a guy that wants to come back. He sounds like a guy who's backed off a lot of what the conjecture that the Adam Schefters of the world put out there, the Peter Kings of the world put out there, that others that have not really talked to him have put out there. he's basically saying, that's not me. I'm not saying that. I'm not thinking that. I haven't even made a decision to come back, but he sounds like a guy that wants to come back. He keeps talking about when he comes back and then says, I haven't made my decision. He backs off of that. That's the only thing he's doing. All the other stuff where he made these hard, seemingly what we thought were cryptic hard stances, he's backed off of. He's backed off all of that. When like Steve says, poor Aaron, does he feel, slighted? No, he as a matter of fact, he said the opposite. He said he feels empowered because a lot of the things have gotten better. The conversation has gotten better. The coaching has gotten better. The front office has gotten better. He would make concessions to come back and play. He wants to play. And then he went and said what a lot of people finally wanted to hear. It's like, I just want to I want to finish my career in Green Bay. I think he genuinely wants to come back. I've said it before. I'll say it again. So when he comes back, if he doesn't come back or he asks for a trade, then you can say, Bill, you were wrong. But I said from day one, he's coming back. And it's not just for the money. I think that I go back to a conversation I had with him years and years and years and years ago. He wanted to be the most decorated in the Super Bowl era, the best, most decorated quarterback. Super Bowls, numerous. MVPs, numerous. Best statistics, all of that. He wanted to be the best. And his legacy's on the line. And he's already accomplished the majority of what he wanted to do. He's just got that one elusive Super Bowl. I'm just telling you, I really believe he's coming back. Now, he did discuss the possibility of him playing in another uniform. Take a listen.
I have never been a free agent, which is pretty wild. I've never gotten to the end of my contract. So to even think about being another uniform never really crossed my mind, just because I got a second contract in my fourth out of fifth year, 5 years. And then each successive contract was with at least a year left on the deal. So there was never a time where you're thinking like, oh, I might be another uniform. And I've just never thought that way. Even when Jordan was drafted, I thought that might be a possibility for sure. I might not finish in Green Bay. Then I won 2 COVID MVPs, and it, obviously seemed a lot less likely. But you never know. I mean, anytime there's a situation where change is possible, what's the old adage, that people want to say, oh, the grass isn't always greener, on the other side. And I always say the grass is green where you water it. And I think that's the most important thing to remember. Change is a part of this business. It's a part of life. And I think being open to it and embracing whatever that change looks like is an important part of coming to peace with whatever decision lies ahead of you. And I think that's the most important kind of piece I want to get to is mentally feeling good about where I'm at. If I want to hang it up and do that, having the peace to do that. If I want to keep going, understanding all possibilities that are involved. So
I don't think there's any doubt he's never thought about going to another team. I mean, maybe there's been a fleeting moment back when, the 49ers called on that draft day a couple of years ago. But for the most part, I don't think he's ever really thought about going to another team. It sounds like when they drafted Jordan, it bothered him at first. He's lived with it now. And don't forget, Brian Gutekunst emphatically at the podium in his postseason presser said, we'll deal with things later on down the road, but right now, Aaron gives us the best chance to win. He said it. It's out there. It's on record. He was emphatic about it. He didn't dilly-dally. He didn't say, well, we'll see, both quarterbacks are, capable of winning games or, he didn't go any. He said, Aaron Rodgers gives us the best chance to win. That's it. Period. We got a little bit more when we come back. Stay tuned. Hey, don't forget, coming up tonight, we are going to be on the road. We're going to be at the New Berlin Ale House. I know it's snowing. That's okay. The snow's going to be pretty much done by then. Come on out tonight. New Berlin Ale House, 6 to 8, brought to you by our friends at Bud Light. They've got specials. They've got giveaways, all kinds of good stuff tonight. Join us, the Bill Michaels Huddle, out again on the road, the second to last one of the season. Don't forget, though, as well, coming up on Friday, special broadcast, we're going to be in Grafton, Wisconsin at the Distillery, right there on Wisconsin Avenue. on the corner of Wisconsin, and I think it's 12th Street. Come on by, and that is going to be a regular show. Our show broadcast is going to be there. Doors open up at 11 a.m. Lunch is going to be served. We're going to have all kinds of good stuff. Whatever you want to eat, come on in. We're not giving it away. Just they're serving lunch. But come on in. There's going to be some Bud Light specials. Take the day off. Take a half day. Work in the morning. Come out and join us. And then we got a special guest, which we'll announce tomorrow on the program, who is going to join us live and in person. So we're looking forward to that. But we're going to be there coming up on Friday. That's also brought to you by our friends at Bud Light. And we're giving away a 55-inch big screen TV right there that day to those people who show up. So all you got to do is walk in, get a registration slip, stuff it in, and you could be one of, I don't know, 20, 50, 100, whoever, how many people show up. Well, you're walking away with it, walking out the door. That's it. So that's coming up on Friday at the Sillery in Grafton. You're going to hear more from Aaron Rodgers coming up next.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Purchase a new home, get fast pre-approval, get it from my preferred lender, my guy, Scott Ellis, Homeside Financial. Give him a buzz, 414-791-7771. I used him for my mortgage and my refi, for that matter, and he did an outstanding job. And they have a 2-1 buy down right now. You can get an interest rate as low as 4.5%. Oh, now your ears perk up, right? All you got to do is call. Check it out. 414-791-7771. 414-791-7771. 414-791-7771. Scott Ellis and his team are fantastic people. But, yeah, right now with the interest rate being what it is, he's the guy you give a call to, 414-791-7771. Because everybody starts looking this time of year, and then in the spring, you're either buying or selling or refinancing, and he's the guy that can help you out. And you can even go as low as 4.5%. I kid you not. 877-867-1670. So I want to get back to this real quick, and then I got two things that I want to hit you up with. There's two polls that I want to go over real quick. So Aaron Rodgers, the last thing that we got for you after we kind of nosh on all of this, talked about retiring as a Packer and his connection and what he feels about the organization in Green Bay.
When I think about that thought, because it's important to understand that, to have some peace with that, because there is a lot that's out of your control. It's not with any malice. It's not with any animosity. It's with complete gratitude for an incredible organization that's done a ton for me. I've been there 18 years. I have lifelong friends in that organization. I have lifelong memories. I've made some of my closest friends in my life because I was drafted by the Green Bay Packers and they paid me multiple contracts and had amazing success and met some just really special people. So why would I have any animosity toward that? You know? And on the flip side, hopefully there wouldn't be animosity if that was a decision at some point, because I have nothing but love for the fans and the amazing people I've met over the years at different events and out at Fresh Time at the grocery store, at Barnes and Noble, picking up some books or whatever it might be. It's a beautiful town. So, I think there's been a lot of fun dreaming about retiring as a Packer, because there's something really special about that. But if the competitive hole is still needs to be satiated and it's time to move on, then I hope everybody would look at that with a lot of gratitude and not any resentment, or even on the flip side, let's get rid of this old guy. Like it's time to move on. I hope there's some gratitude on both sides if that happens. But again, that doesn't open the door for any really conjecture, honestly, on my side. And I'm not saying that to be cryptic. I got to figure out what I want to do, and then we'll see where all the parties are at and what kind of transpires after that.
There you go. Everything you wanted him to say, what we talked about last week into this week, he said. The only thing he didn't say was, I'm ready to go. Let's go. I'm ready to go. Let's do this. That's it. Now, Ben, do you believe he sounds like a more relaxed, more enjoyable, more ready to come back Aaron Rodgers? Do you feel like he's laying all the groundwork to say, hey, I'm not here anymore. I love you guys. Thanks for all my years there in Green Bay. I'm out.
Well, it sounds like he is laying the groundwork and sounds positive towards coming back to football in general,
right,
compared to maybe this point in previous off seasons. Whether that's with Green Bay, I still think it's likely that it is, and I think he still kind of wants it to be. But I do think there is some language there. If the Packers choose to move on, the groundwork could be laid for an amicable divorce. And I've seen some point that out. But that, I think he wants to put it maybe outside of his hands to show that it is the organization making that decision.
Right. I still go by what Brian Gutekunst said. Aaron Rodgers gives us the best chance to win. And if Rodgers himself, when he said, he knows he needs to make some adjustments to the contract. He didn't say what, but he talked about everything from restructured, avoidable years to this and that. And your ears perk up and you're like, whoa, wait a minute. This guy's willing to give some money back to come back for a year? You do this. You get what you need, you run it back. I think that's what he wants to do. I think that's what he wants. He knows that this is it. This year is probably going to be the last year, because the Packers got to make a decision on Jordan Love, and they're not going to pay two quarterbacks, $20 million a year to the tune of $40 or $50 million the following year. So he probably knows this is it. So you take another shot at it. You take another shot at it. I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, this guy's. I believe this guy's coming back. I've said it from the beginning. He's coming back. I just get the feeling, just from what I know and what I've been told and the people I've talked to, I get the sense that, yeah, they're not going to beg him to come back this time, but they're also not ready to just kick him to the curb. That they know this was a bad year. This was a bad year. It may not work out, but they all want to run. They all want to lock arms and run it back one more time. I just get that sense. And this was that glimpse, I think, into that he's like, yeah, I want to come back. I'll let you know sooner rather than later. I'm going to come back and we'll go play some golf and have some fun. And then I'm going to come back and I'll be locked in and ready to go. But that's what I believe. I get that feeling. Now, here's two things. From yesterday, you've got 8 minutes left to vote. Our poll question from yesterday, saying, Packers fans, it's simple. Do you want the team to keep Rodgers or trade Rodgers? And you know my opinion on all of this. So I thought it would be like when I woke up this morning, I thought it would have gone up because yesterday when we left the airwaves, it was 76% wanted to see Rodgers traded. It came down. It's 68.1 with 3,687 votes. You can find it over on Twitter. Just find me on Twitter. Scroll down a couple of posts, and you'll see it right there. It's the poll question. You still got about 7 minutes to vote. 31.9% say keep them. The majority of people that started to vote wanted to qualify it. I'm like, no, just in general, do you want to keep them or trade them? It's that simple. Well, what are we getting for them? That's not it. That's like going to the witness stand, and the lawyer says, answer yes or no. And then they say, is your name Ben Kenny? And you're like, well, technically it's Ben. And just yes or no. Just yes or no. Well, but I got to tell you what my firm, yes or no.
Well, it's Benjamin.
There you go. That's what I'm saying. That's what everybody wanted to do. Well, if they change code, if Nathaniel Hackett was, that's not it. Just simply yes or no. Trade him or not trade him. That was it. Because the question was posed by a listener who said he's just tired of the back and forth. That was it. There was no qualification on it. Otherwise, I would have written that in there. That's it. Now, a second poll question has come to light. And Ben, you have that, right? This is from New York. Correct me if I'm wrong, on WFAN?
Correct. It's Evan Roberts, who I believe is a big Jets guy. I think one of the biggest Jets radio hosts there in the city. The question is, who would you rather have at quarterback for the Jets in 2023? And it had a disclaimer of what they would give up. It was either Brady trading no picks, Rodgers trading 2 first-rounders, Lamar for 3 firsts, or Derek Carr for 1 first. And the results where we sit now, and it's been 21-ish hours since he posted it, 32.7% leading, saying they would rather have Rodgers trading 2 first-rounders.
There you go.
And the rest are around 20%.
There you go. They would rather have Aaron Rodgers over Lamar Jackson, which I don't blame him, over Lamar Jackson. Derek Carr, he shouldn't even be in the discussion. Tom Brady, and he's everybody saw what he did this season. Rodgers is the logical pick. Rodgers is the logical pick. But 2 firsts, I still think that might be a little bit high, but hey, who am I? 877-867-1670. Now, after all of this and all you've heard, I'm now going to say, now what do you think? Now what do you think? It's the softer, gentler side. I love you guys. I love the organization. I'm ready to come back, but I'm not ready to come back just yet. I'm not going to make that announcement just yet, but I'm even willing to give some money back or restructure my deal. I'm willing for all that. I'm willing for all that because he's heard it. When he was in Green Bay, he's heard it. If he didn't hear it on this program, he heard it on other programs where people just said, if it wasn't about the money, and you say it's not about the money, why'd you take all the money? Why'd you cash strap this team? So now it's like, whoa, wait a minute. Okay, I'm willing to give some money back. I'm willing to do some other things. He knows he needs some help. If you're going to run it back, you got to run it back and do it right. So you tell me. You tell me. What do you think? 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. Stay tuned. We're going to take your phone calls coming up next on the Bill Michaels Show.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Even when the weather outside is frightful, your energy bill could be much more delightful. Hi, I'm Gina Della from Pella. Replacing drafty windows and doors can dramatically lower your energy costs. Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin offers some of the most energy efficient windows in the industry, designed to keep the cold outside where it belongs. You'll help kick the January blues when you choose to book by the 31st for 0% interest up to 2029. You heard that right. No interest up to the year 2029 if you book by January 31st. Pella's premium wood windows and patio doors feature distinguished craftsmanship and nearly endless possibilities, with maximum design flexibility in dramatic sizes, custom colors, finishes, profiles, product types, and more. Hurry! To get the 0% interest up to 2029, you have to book by January 31st. Visit PellaWI.com.
Certain restrictions apply.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. Hey, it was sad news. I had just seen the article that after I don't know how many years, decades in business, our guy Joey Albanese and Albanese's Roadhouse in Waukesha coming to an end in March. I think it's March. So if you're gonna, you're hearing it. So if you're gonna have any time to go out and see Joey, say hi to the family. They kind of closed down the State Fair shop and got rid of that property. And then his dad had passed away. And he just said, you know what, it's time. It's just, Dad started it and it's been a great business, been a great family business, but it's time. So Albanese's Roadhouse on Blue Mountain Road in Waukesha, they're coming to an end. And he's been great as a sponsor. He said it's the business has been great. It's just running it pretty much by himself. And it's just time. He just wants to go back and enjoy the rest of life. And so kudos to him. That's just awesome that he's had that long of a run. But Albanese's Roadhouse, stop in and wish him the best because it is coming to an end. A long tradition in the Waukesha area coming to an end. 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. I want your opinion. We've heard all of Rodgers' comments. Did anything he said, the way he said it, what he said, talked about legacy, talked about coming back to the pack, talked about, well, if the Packers want to move on, he's okay with that, but he feels like he really wants to end his career in Green Bay, never thought about playing in another uniform, willing to give some money back. It sounds like there has been in a week this transformation of a softer side of Rodgers. And in that interview, in case you didn't catch it yesterday, he also said, look, I'm not, when he talked about all those players, he talked about, Randall Cobb and Big Dog and David Bakhtiari and Robert Tonyan and Lazard. And he said, look, I'm not standing on a table yelling that these guys have to be back. That's not, I'm not, pounding the stake into the ground. He's just said, I would love to end my career with those guys. Some guys may not even want to come back. But he just said, look, that's kind of what I'm thinking, But he said that they're coming back or not coming back does not affect my decision. So all of that is going on. Do you feel different, the same? Thoughts on all that was said? And I'm now turning it over to you. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. That's the phone numbers. If you want to find us on Twitter, do so at Bill_Michaels, at Bill_Michaels, at Ben Z. Kenny. You can find us there as well. If you want to hit us up on the Facebook fan page and chime in, you can. Facebook.com/The Bill Michaels Show. You can chime in on the Bud Light live stream, whether it's on YouTube or on Twitch TV as well. You can email the program, thebillmichaels@gmail.com. Plenty of ways to get a hold of us. So give us a shout. Would love to hear your comments today. I think it's rather pertinent. The other question. Now, Ben, you have another question regarding all of this, right?
Well, when we talk about that poll from New York and what the fans there think, and they're starved of good quarterback play, right? So they might be more desperate than the team. But would there be a price if you are still on the you cannot trade him train, if you will, is there a price that you feel is impossible to say no to? Would 2 first-round picks be the difference, where if you get that, you just have to do it?
Yeah. That's a great question. If he wants, now let's just say what you're saying is, say he says, I'm ready to come back. I want to come back. But the Jets call and say, hey, we'll give you 2 first-round picks and a player. Do you then have to do it? Is what you're asking, right?
Correct. Yep.
Man.
I kind of think you do.
I think at that point in time, you'd probably talk to him about what would be good. Yeah, that's a great question. That's a great question. Boy. Whew. I think you'd probably have to. Then again, I always say, I don't want draft choices over proven commodity. It depends on how much is he giving back? I mean, that's the other thing. How much is he giving back? Is he giving back a bunch? Is he not giving back much at all? You know what I mean? So if that's the case, I don't know. I don't think I would. God, it's so hard. Because once you say goodbye, it's goodbye. You know what I mean? Once you say goodbye, it's goodbye. That's a good question. 877-867-1670. If you want to find us, feel free. 877-867-1670. I got tons of people chiming in on the Bud Light live stream. So if you want to give us a shout, by all means do so. Jason says Gutekunst did not say that Rodgers gives you the best chance to win. When he stated he's 4-time MVP, big difference. No, he did say that. He absolutely did say that, Jason. Yes, he did. He was asked about Rodgers coming back and about moving on to Jordan Love and such. And then he talked about, yes, he said, we'll deal with that when we get there. But, we go with what gives us the best chance to win. Yes, he did. He absolutely said that. Because I made a note of it, not once, but twice. Yes, he did. Manko says Rodgers definitely going to take a pay cut to stay in Green Bay. I think so. Also says trade Love for a really good draft choice. Now, what happens if that happens? Let's say you can lock Jordan Love up right now. You make that decision to lock him up. Would you say trade him to the Jets if you get a number 1 for him? Ben, would you do that?
Honestly, no. And maybe I'm blind to what I think he could be. But I think one of the worst situations you could find yourself in is if he goes and wins a Super Bowl or 2 with another team. Which would be a very real possibility. My buddy Justin brought this up to me yesterday. He texted me and he said, hey, here's the issue. Think about this. Suppose Rodgers does go to another team. Okay. And let's say he was going to come in this year and be all in with the Packers, but he goes somewhere else and he shows up for OTAs. He's got to get in there early and start working with new coordinators, new coaches and such. So, he's going to be in there. He's going to be enthused. He's going to be wide-eyed going into that situation. He's going to walk in as the king wherever he goes, right? And he goes in and say it's the Jets, and the Jets pick up a couple of pieces. Their defensive line is good. They pay Rodgers because they got money, and they win a championship. How pissed will people be? First of all, the people that said he can't win will be wrong. And how pissed will people be? And I think that's part of what the fear is regarding the Packers. Because when you got rid of Favre, you knew what you had in Rodgers. You saw it. You saw it. I know there's other guys out there that say, well, they didn't really know. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. That's back when I was covering the team on the daily. Yes, they did. Absolutely, they did. I had a conversation with Mike McCarthy about it. Yes, they did. I sat up there at FanFest and sat with Ted Thompson as we talked about it.
Ted told me the whole story about him sitting alone in his condo in the dark and thinking about how he was ready to get rid of, he was really actually pulling the trigger on trading away Brett Favre. And then after the mics were off, he leans over and he says, but we knew what we had in Aaron. We knew Aaron was great. We knew it. They knew what they had in Aaron Rodgers. Right?
So I think the variable, if that situation happens with the Jets and Rodgers, the question is, how good is Love during the season with the Packers? Because if he shows the ability to be the next guy for the long term, I think it might be a lot easier to sit with.
Let's say they do this, though. What happens, throw the worst case scenario out. Say they do trade Rodgers and Love fails miserably. Then what? And I think that's
draft Caleb Williams.
Then I also think that is part of, I don't want Caleb Williams. He's a jackass. Good quarterback, but he's a jackass. He's already a jackass. Put him in the NFL. He's Kyler Murray on steroids. Did you see the way he acted playing for USC this year? I was glad he wasn't a Badger. I got to watch him down the stretch 2 or 3 games, and I'm like, he's just an ass. He is so full of himself. He'll get eaten up in the NFL. Unless he gets a giant slice of humble pie and comes to Jesus. But I just, what happens if then Jordan Love fails? And I think that's another fear of the organization as well. I mean, you can't let fear drive your decisions, nor, like myself, you can't let nostalgia drive your decisions either. I just know that when you have greatness in the room, you keep greatness in the room as long as you can, unless you have greatness waiting. And if they knew they had greatness waiting, they would have made the move. They would have already done it. 877-867-1670. Hit us up. We got a lot more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up. Stay tuned. Back after this.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Now, here's Mike Clemens.
The Cincinnati Bengals will be on the practice field today getting ready to play the Chiefs at Arrowhead for the AFC Championship game. Bengals center Ted Karras injured his knee in their win over the Bills, but says he and his teammates will be ready to play by Sunday.
Just so many great guys in here. They gritted it out. Defense holds Josh Allen to 10 points. Just to move on for a chance at the Lamar Hunt Trophy. Let's go.
Despite missing 3 starters, the Bengals offensive line allowed only 1 sack on quarterback Joe Burrow against the Bills' defensive front. Bengals head coach Zach Taylor.
Yeah, to rush for over 170 yards, to handle the noise the way they did, to protect Joe the way that they did. I thought our offensive line was outstanding.
The last time the Chiefs lost a game was December 4th against the Bengals in Cincinnati. Since then, Kansas City has won 6 in a row. Chiefs tight end Travis Kelce.
Everybody's locked in right now. I think if you looked at that team out there, you saw everybody communicating very well, coach team on all 3 phases. And when we play like that, we give ourselves a really good chance at winning.
And Aaron Rodgers says he'll be golfing in a Pebble Beach tournament next month, taking some time off before he decides on his football career. Rodgers on the McAfee show says trade talks are premature, but
You never know. I mean, anytime there's a situation where change is possible, what's the old adage, that people want to say, the grass isn't always greener, on the other side. And I always say the grass is green where you water it.
That's Aaron Rodgers. I'm Mike Clemens on The Bill Michaels Show.
Welcome back. Good to have you. The Bill Michaels Show continues on. We are hopeful to get a good crowd tonight. Wednesday night, we're going to be live out at the New Berlin Ale House tonight, 6 to 8. The Bill Michaels Huddle is back, so come on out and say hi. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Lux Golf Bays. Yeah, the snow's flying. That's okay. That's okay. They have heated bays. They're open year-round. LuxGolfBays.com. That is LuxGolfBays.com. You can still go get your swing on. LuxGolfBays.com. Check it out in Franklin, Wisconsin. Televisions, you have the bar, there's not much more you could want. And all you work on your game or just take a group outing, a corporate outing, whatever it happens to be, go have some fun. Lux, L-U-X-E, Lux Golf Bays, LuxGolfBays.com. By the way, the final results, it's gone final now. The fans have spoken on the keep Rodgers or trade Rodgers on Twitter. 68% say trade him, 32% say keep him. It went final on Twitter. There was a lot of people that chimed in many different facets, including the Bud Light live stream as well. So I did kind of make a note of it, and it was very similar on both of them, on both sides. It was very similar. So, yeah, it's very similar. My buddy Gerard, listening to us in Delaware, says the show has become popular from friends who are now Jets fans in New York and New Jersey. He said, and he can't make that up. He said, people are listening. Say hello to all of our friends on the East Coast listening to us. Hi, to all. Look, I don't care if you're a Jets fan, a Giants fan. I don't care if you're a Rangers fan. Doesn't matter to me. If you're listening and hanging out with us, thank you. Thank you for chiming in. We appreciate that.
No Eagles fans, though. Not allowed.
We can bring in Eagles fans. I was thinking more of Northeast, like New York and Jersey. And I get some Patriots fans that chime in every now and then that live up in the Maine and New England area and Boston area. So we do get that. We do get people from Philly. Yes, we do. They're entrenched with the whip down there, though. They love the whip. Right? WIP?
That is what I've heard. Yes.
Okay. By the way, Vincent says, don't get yourself excited. Nick Foles is still garbage.
That's unnecessary.
That's a kick to the crotch, isn't it?
I mean,
oh man.
Super Bowl MVP.
Super Bowl MVP Nick Foles. Oh, this is from Margot. By the way, Margot's listening in Nashville, Tennessee. says, I would hate to see Aaron Rodgers traded. I would love to see him retire a Green Bay Packer, not have to come back for one of those one-day contracts, but walk off the field for the last time as a Green Bay Packer and hopefully with a trophy hoisted high. That would be a storybook ending. Margo, I agree. Love it. Meta, listening to us in the bluegrass state of Kentucky, the home, by the way, of one Chris Stapleton singing the national anthem for the Super Bowl this year, just in case you didn't know. Meta says, I'd love to see Green Bay keep Aaron Rodgers, him give some of that money back and go find a real wide receiver to help coach up the young guys rather than just having Cobby do it. What else do we have here for you? We got all kinds of stuff flying in today. It's good stuff. Who do we got? We got Christopher's in D.C. Said it's not just Zabin country anymore. My buddy Steve Zabin over on 97.3 The Game in Milwaukee. And we keep texting each other back and forth to do the show, and we just keep missing each other. It'll happen. It'll happen at some point. Maybe we do it. Well, I don't think he's in town this week, but maybe we do it maybe next week for our last one out at Fox's. So we'll see. Watcher says, Watcher, you are the most negative SOB on the face of the earth. He ain't going to give money back. LOL, you people are you people serious? We're only taking him at his word. And maybe it's not giving money back, but maybe it's giving you a break or voidable years. Yeah, then you can do that. In essence, you are giving the team a break. I mean, he said it, not us. We're not making it up. He said it. He said, yeah, if I come back, there's going to have to be an adjustment, I think is what he said. An adjustment. Then he talked about, voidable years and such within his contract. He's the one that said it, not us. There you go. Smoke him if you got him. (877-867-1670). Hit us up. We got a lot more to get to. Pete Doherty today, Bill Huber today, you and I today. Tonight we're going to be out at New Berlin Ale House. Oh, we got so much more to go. So much more. Holy crap, we got a lot to do. Stay tuned. We'll be back after this.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, Aaron Rodgers' watch continues. The four-time MVP is still undecided whether he wants to return to the Packers, retire, or request a trade. Here's more from number 12 while on the Pat McAfee Show.
Before that mindset kicks in, we're like, oh, man, I'm really going to go do this again in April and this thing. I just think you need time to kind of decompress. At least I do. Maybe other people are differently, but I need time to decompress. I mean, just kind of let the off season start to sink in and then at some point make that decision. But, yeah, all the other ideas about, trade and whatnot, that's all conjecture until I even decide what I want to do moving forward for myself.
Wisconsin basketball is in Maryland tonight. They'll likely be without Max Klesmit as he did not travel with the team. Now the Badgers will have to play 3 games in 6 days, this being the second. Here's more from head coach Greg Gard.
It's unique. Obviously, we're the only team having to do this, but I felt it was important for us to play games, and there was really no other. We looked at every single spot in the calendar, and there was the only way to make this happen was doing this.
Tip-off is tonight at 6 o'clock from College Park. The Badgers then come home Saturday to take on Illinois.
You're worth so much more. Have you ever had the choice to accumulate wealth or go into debt? Let's play Would You Rather. Would you rather have $190,000 in total compensation or be $29,000 in debt? That's the choice between paying for a bachelor's degree that might not even land you a job or an apprenticeship with LIUNA that will lead to job security, a pension, stability, and a lifetime of great wages. You're worth so much more. Go to liunawisconsin.org/join to learn how to accumulate wealth instead of debt.
Monday night saw the return of Giannis Antetokounmpo and Chris Middleton to the lineup for the Milwaukee Bucks, and they scored a season-high 150 points in their win over the Pistons. The Bucks, who just got done with the 2-game road trip, now welcome in the Denver Nuggets to the Pfizer Forum tonight for action at 7 o'clock. For the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network, I'm Ebo.
Patrick Mahomes back in the building in KC. Will the knee be ready to go? Will the ankle be ready to go? He's going to play. I don't think there's any doubt about that. He's going to play. But how good is he going to be? And what kind of game plan of the Packers, or excuse me, God, I wishful thinking, I guess. But what kind of game plan is Cincinnati going to come out with regarding him? And then obviously you've got the Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly. We're not. I know Brock Purdy has become like the darling of the football world in a lot of senses because of Mr. Irrelevancy. But I feel this sense of overwhelming swell starting to support the Philadelphia Eagles for one Ben Z. Kenny in the state of Wisconsin.
I feel great, and that makes me incredibly nervous, if I'm being completely honest.
Right?
But, I don't think Purdy is even the story of the game. There are 5 to 6 matchups I would list of the Niners versus Eagles, which is a great on-field matchup, by the way, and very even, as Vegas would tell you. There are 5 to 6 matchups ahead of what Purdy himself does. So he'll be the story because it's the headline, because the draft pick and replacing Jimmy G.
Right.
But he's the least of my concerns, I would say.
Boy, I you're right about all the different storylines going into this. 100% agree. But I just, I think the storylines to me going into that 49ers Eagles game is Jalen Hurts has done everything this year. He's lost one game the entire season. And what did he win? He was like 15-1 or something like that, or 14-1, I think, as the starter. And then he had, he took a couple of games off. And so I look at Jalen, and every time he would take the field, it was like, well, here's another obstacle that they're going to throw at him. And he overcame it and he won. And but wait a minute, he's got to do this. And then he did it and they won. Now they're saying, well, much like, Dak Prescott, well, he's got to beat the number 1 overall defense now. And then he'll be considered a good, good quarterback. It's like, what else does the guy have to do? He had a hell of a year. He's an MVP candidate, one of the finalists. I think the number 1 story is going to be Jalen Hurts against that San Francisco defense. And can that what do you take away? That's probably the best question going into that game. What do you take away? If you're the San Francisco 49ers defense and you're looking at this thing, you're saying, you know what? I'm gonna do everything I can to do this. What do you take away? Because, okay, say you spy Jalen Hurts. Okay, we're going to spy him. He's not going to run on us. Well, you put him in the pocket, that's fine. They can still run Miles Sanders at you. They still, Dallas Goedert is good, but they've got a trio of wide receivers they can run at you. So he becomes a pocket passer, and then he picks you apart with his arm because he's got a good arm. He's much better, in my opinion, than a guy like Lamar Jackson. So, okay, you take away his run ability, he picks you apart, or they run the football against you. Then if you say, well, we're going to take away the run game and concentrate on Miles Sanders, well, then all of a sudden he takes off and runs too. I think the thing with the 49ers is just trying to contain him. Just try to keep him in the pocket. Try to then, get to him as quickly as you can to make him make a decision, but don't let him get outside the pocket and start running on you. And just make him play quarterback. See what he can do just playing quarterback. That's it. I think if you do anything more than that, or try to do anything more than that, he's going to eat you up. And then obviously you got with Linval Joseph, who they picked up mid-season, and Fletcher Cox and everybody up front. And then coming on, being able to play corner the way he can play. And I just, James Bradbury, I just think that they have, and Marcus Epps over at free safety, I think that they've got a really stout defense. And it's probably as good, maybe not pressure-wise as good, but probably as good as the Dallas Cowboys. And they execute it better. They win in the trenches better. And when you can rotate in Fletcher Cox and Ndamukong Suh, Linval Joseph, plus Sue and Joseph both have that championship pedigree, that experience and veteran experience. They know how to rotate in. They know when to turn it on and turn it off. I think it's going to be a real tough test for San Francisco going into Philadelphia this weekend. Is that a fair assessment of your team, Ben?
Yeah, I would say so. I look to the sidelines more than anything. And it's not necessarily what Fred Warner can do against Goddard over the middle, because that's what the Eagles do is they put the inside linebackers in crazy binds where there are 4 options running at him. But I think it's D'Amico Ryans on one sideline against Shane Steichen. All the coordinators in this game are going to be future NFL head coaches.
Mm-hmm.
You also talk about Shanahan, who is, the best offensive mind in football, him going up against Jonathan Gannon, who the defensive coordinator, who will likely be a head coach. It's those matchups, because I think while the players are obviously important and you have to execute, I think it'll be clear who plans for the game better and who outsmarts the other side.
So if you had to say, okay, let's go offense to offense, who's got the better offense?
I think all around the Eagles do.
Defense to defense.
The Niners, though it might not be the biggest gap. The thing is, they live on turnovers.
Right.
And the question is, how sustainable are turnovers?
Right.
It's a discussion we always get into in college football.
Right.
Because they're not great in the red zone. They don't let many teams get down there, and they give up a lot of explosive plays. They just force an unbelievable amount of turnovers.
That's because they
and when
put
they
a ton of pressure on the quarterback.
Right. And when they do force, I think 2 or 3, they average 15 more points scored a game. Like, that is the single difference for them.
Now you get down to place kickers. Robbie Gould is money. How is Jake Elliott?
Also tremendous.
Okay.
He's been one of the best for 6 years.
Maybe they negate each other if you want to go in that direction. So then it comes down to coaching. Turnovers and coaching.
That's where I'm at.
That's it. Turnovers and coaching. Who do you give the nod to?
I think when you also factor in a quarterback that can do more, if Purdy gets behind, I don't see how they can come back efficiently.
I agree with that. Yeah.
So I think it's a momentum game. I think it's a play from ahead game. And you add in the fact that Hurts is more dependable in these spots, I'd say. I give the edge to Philly and also playing at home. But I think it's a 1-possession game. I think it's down to the wire.
I think it's playing at home too. I really do. I think it's part of it is going to be dealing with that atmosphere in a playoff atmosphere in Philadelphia. And Brock Purdy's going to have to overcome all of that. So that's why I kind of look at it and think, as much as I think Brock Purdy is the real deal, I don't know if he's his first, chomp at the bit, so to speak, for a playoff team on the road is going to be a successful one, especially against the overall number 1 in the Philadelphia Eagles. I just don't know if I'm going to see that.
It's a much more complex game to me than the other game is. The other game kind of just comes down to how healthy is Mahomes. Yeah. And if he is healthy, can they avoid that second half disaster we saw last season against Cincinnati?
I just saw a statistic where Jalen Hurts, not even running the football, 332.7 yards per game against teams that have a top 10 defense or better, with 7 touchdowns. So, now granted, he's still dealing with a little bit of a shoulder issue, and we'll see how that, if at all, if it hampers him. He said after the game last week that, after last weekend, it was, it was great. No big deal. I'm fine. But we'll see if it, hurts him at all. But I don't know if I
see if it hurts.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I didn't even know the pun. I didn't even get it there. And then the other storyline, obviously, is Cincinnati going into Kansas City, and it's going to be the ankle of the high ankle sprain for Patrick Mahomes. Clearly, all the talk is Joe Burrow has not lost to Kansas City. They're 3-0 against them, 2 of those wins come at Kansas City. Sometimes you just have a nemesis. The Packers have the 49ers in recent history. They had the Cowboys in past history. And maybe this is now Kansas City's nemesis. Who knows? But Joe Burrow just has their number. Now, every game's been decided by 3 points. So it's not like it's been blowouts. But yeah, it's still close, and Cincinnati's favored by a point going in, but I think that line changes if Patrick Mahomes was healthy. But 41 touchdowns, 5,250 yards in the season for Patrick Mahomes. And we know what Joe Burrow and the connection between him and Jamar Chase. But the biggest question to me is, what does Cincinnati's defense do to put Patrick Mahomes under pressure? And then in addition to that, what does what does Cincinnati's offensive line do to protect Joe Burrow? If Joe Burrow has time, you're done. You're done. You now hear the comparisons popping up on a continual basis of he reminds you of a cross between Joe Montana and Tom Brady. Nothing dynamic, good strong arm, but technically savvy. He just is technically one of the best descriptions. I was listening to Dan Orlovsky the other day, was just saying Joe Burrow plays the best quarterback position. And others could, but they don't. He just does. He's so technically sound. It's like if you're going to put a tape on to say this is how you play quarterback, because you can't teach what Mahomes does or Hurts does or Fields does or Lamar Jackson does or those guys that take off and run and they do it with their feet and they scramble. You can't do that. Even what Rodgers does off his back foot, flicking it with his wrist. You can't teach that. But when you want to teach the position of quarterback and say this is how you should play it, this is your decision-making. This is being technically savvy. This is putting the ball in the right place at the right time where only your guy can really get it. That's Joe Burrow. That's how good he is. That's Tom Brady in his heyday. So I'm looking forward to the weekend. I'll tell you that. I can't wait. 877-867-1670. Now we want to go back to the phone calls because we spent the entire first hour talking about everything that was said on the Pat McAfee show yesterday. And my question was, do you now feel differently about whether or not to bring Aaron Rodgers back, what he had to say, a little bit softer, backed off of some of the stances, talked about, restructuring the contract, talked about voidable years, things around to make it more plausible for the team. Absolutely. Whether or not he gives money back or makes a year voidable or something so you're not crippling the franchise, he might do that. He even talked about it. He brought it up. We didn't. Let's go back to the phone calls. Talk to Derek listening to us in Albany. Derek, how you doing today, man? What's going on?
Hey, Bill, I enjoy the dialogue between you and Ben, and I'm listening today in Albany. I'm from Schenectady, and, my favorite team, obviously, is the Packers. Everybody who knows me knows that. Second favorite team would be the Chargers. I love the Badgers. The Utah Jazz. I became a Jazz fan when Pete Maravich played in New Orleans. And I'm a Cleveland Indians / now Cleveland Guardians fan, but your show's terrific, man. I mean, you got a good sense of humor. Occasionally, you get goofy and go off the rails, which is a riot when that happens. I love it when that happens. And you tell some interpersonal stuff about what's happening. So, as a guy, yeah, right. As a guy of a certain age, it's fun to listen to. And my contention on the Rodgers thing is I feel better about it now. And I hope the national media picks up on this. Bill, that the national media seized upon the fact that he said, well, I could play at an MVP level and so forth. And, they didn't pick up on the fact that he said, I don't want to come back unless I feel we have a great chance to win the Super Bowl. By him adjusting the money and being willing, and he sounds very reasonable. I like how he sounds. And here's another thing, one last thing. If the Packers were to trade Jordan Love, I don't know that they would get a first rounder unless they got one at the back of the round, or if they got a second rounder. Let's say they get a second and a third rounder. What I would do with the Packers, now that you don't have Jordan Love in the fold, I would then take my number 1, a 2, and a 3, and move up in the top 10 and get yourself another one of those great quarterbacks that could develop in 3 to 4 years because Rodgers will be gone by then.
I agree with that. If you get a haul and you can't turn away from it, absolutely. I mean, I think we all look at things and say, we'll never do this. But then again, something could turn your head. So the Packers could certainly have their head turned. I just think that there is this, that it would take a lot because there's this level of sentimentality of we really, and again, the organization's on the hook for this too, because they're going to look at this and say, you had quarterback play of Hall of Fame caliber for 30 plus years and you only won 2 Super Bowls. They really want another one. They want to have 4 Super Bowl attended, 3 of which they won in 30 years of good Hall of Fame, because it just elevates you. It just takes you to another level. And I think then they could say, okay, we made the most of it in sometimes a bad situation. They had a lot of success. But I think if you let Rodgers walk and he has success elsewhere, or God forbid, Jordan Love's not the real deal, and you just don't sniff another Super Bowl for another decade, I think people are going to say, what an incompetent failure on behalf of the upper management of the Green Bay Packers to allow that to just be always falling short year after year after year after year and not doing enough to get the job done. That's just my opinion. I get the sense that they really want this one more time to be able to run this thing back to try to get one. That's just me. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Give us a shout. Would love to hear from you. Again, 877-867-1670. You know what? I'm not even going to address all that crap. Just an FYI. People are hitting me up over on Twitter, and the whole Damar Hamlin thing is disgusting. And you people who bust into that are disgusting too. And I hope you leave my Twitter account and you have no regard for humans. You're disgusting people. Let's do this. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break. We're going to come back. I got a whole lot more of the Bill Michaels Show next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Even when the weather outside is frightful, your energy bill could be much more delightful. Hi, I'm Gina Della from Pella. Replacing drafty windows and doors can dramatically lower your energy costs. Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin offers some of the most energy efficient windows in the industry, designed to keep the cold outside where it belongs. You'll help kick the January blues when you choose to book by the 31st for 0% interest up to 2029. You heard that right. No interest up to the year 2029 if you book by January 31st. Pella's premium wood windows and patio doors feature distinguished craftsmanship and nearly endless possibilities, with maximum design flexibility in dramatic sizes, custom colors, finishes, profiles, product types, and more. Hurry! To get the 0% interest up to 2029, you have to book by January 31st. Visit PellaWI.com.
Certain restrictions apply.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
this Friday, a week from this Friday, we are going to be out in Oconomowoc in the Summit area. The Oconomowoc Summit area. We're going to be out there at Stoley's Hog Alley. And that is coming up a week from Friday. So this Friday, we're going to be at the Distillery in Grafton here on the 27th this week. And doors open up there at 11. We go to 11 to 2. We'll be on the air 10 to 2, but the doors open up at 11. And then on February 3rd, as we get ready, we're packing our bags, getting ready to head out to Arizona for Super Bowl. We are going to be at Stoley's Hog Alley out in Oconomowoc and Summit out there between Oconomowoc and Delafield. Come on out. We're going to be there. Same thing. Doors open up at 11. We go until 2, giving away some prizes and such. So we're going to be at Stoley's Hog Alley. So this Friday at the Distillery, next Friday at Stoley's Hog Alley. And then coming up on Monday the 6th, we are going to be for a week-long broadcast. We're going to be live from Radio Row in Arizona at Super Bowl. So really looking forward to that as well. 877-867-1670. Again, 877-867-1670. Coming up here at the bottom of the hour, Pete Doherty, the Green Bay Press Gazette, is going to join us. We'll pick his brain on this. We'll see what he thinks as everybody was tuned in and listening yesterday to Aaron Rodgers. Everybody was tuned in listening yesterday to Aaron Rodgers. And man, oh man, I'll tell you this. The four-letter network is running just wild with the Rodgers to the Jets comparisons. Comparing Rodgers numbers to the Jets quarterback numbers over the last 3, 4, 5 years and such. And just, I think it's all for naught myself. But,
don't you think because ESPN does that, Rodgers would come out of retirement and play for the Packers to spite Jets fans and or ESPN?
Yeah. He was not happy with some of the things that went on. And I know that, now, don't get me wrong. I'm sure, being talked about, is a good thing. But I just really, I got the sense that he just wasn't happy with the way things were portrayed a couple of years ago. And like I said, when all this started to break, and I heard it and then brought it to the forefront and the world went crazy. And Adam Schefter came out and started talking about it. Because remember, originally I was rebuffed. I was rebuffed hard, and even by people in this area. And it was like, nah, there's some stuff here. There's some stuff to talk about. But Adam Schefter took it like the next step. He took it the next step further and said, he is not coming back. He is not and you took him for the truth because, like I said, Adam Schefter's agent is Aaron Rodgers' agent. He may not say exactly what's going on, but he's at least going to give you a feel as to what's happening, So I really thought that. So, but it didn't happen. So then, now with everything that's going on, it's a lot of conjecture. It's a lot of, well, this could be the thought, but there's never a closing of the door. There's never this is what's going to happen. This is what's going on. It's just always, it is what it is. It's kind of like, well, this might happen. This could happen, blah, blah, blah. Pac fan, you're right. It was me and Paul Allen. Paul Allen from the Vikings, like I said, that morning I got the call and they said, you got to take a listen. And Paul just basically said, Bill, go ahead and run with it. Now in Vikings land, that was kind of like, oh, okay, Rodgers is upset. No big deal. But in our backyard, it went crazy. It went crazy. So that was where, because he was the one that originally got the information. So I've always given Paul Allen all the credit in the world. But because I put it out there, I was the one that was hit the hardest with it. Paul was criticized secondarily because it was like, how can you believe the Vikings guy? Well, the Vikings guy is well connected. And it turns out he was right. Hell yeah, he was right. Fully. 100%. 877-867-1670. Got a lot of emails to get to. Holy mackerel. This one's, hey, Bill, I'm a Packers fan first and foremost. That's how I'm going to leave it. In all my years, you run into people that are indecisive in everyday life, Bill. I'm sure I am guilty of this as well. And you learn the process. You make a decision. You move on. I think it is part of the problem with Aaron Rodgers. Only he can't get moving in a proactive measure. It's just my opinion. We all have decisions in life, careers, goals, family, etc. The guy from the outside seems to wrestle with that. And to be honest, maybe he needs to sit down with a professional and get over all of the hurdles as it relates to a career in football. You have a $60 million contract that you demanded. You, sir, asked for certain players. They made those available. So they did all of that, yet you can't make a decision. You're under contract. Am I missing something here? When you get to the end of your career, like he said, you really do, as you start to get older and you wake up and you feel it a little bit more and you go, oh, do I want to go through this again? I've always said, if you start to ask yourself that, maybe you should walk away from the game. Unless, of course, you're like, oh, do I want to do this again? No, I'm ready to go. Let's go. When you get that, I'm like, okay, now you're all in. I'm liking it. He goes on to say, so my opinion, whatever hit we take over the next couple of seasons, so be it. Time to see what Jordan Love can do. Hopefully Aaron can find some balance in life relative to the game of football, because it's just not going to work out in Green Bay. Great show. That's Jeff listening to us here in Waukesha. It's a little bit longer than that. I don't mean to, cut you really short, but nevertheless, I wanted to get that out there for you. Our buddy Steve says, first of all, highly recommended that you have a Bang Bang shrimp wrap at the Distillery on Friday. I've been to the Distillery numerous times. I have not had the Bang Bang shrimp wrap. I had the buffalo chicken wrap. I've had the soup. I have had the fish tacos, which were outstanding. I've had a burger. So I've had numerous things there. And the Cuban rolls are really good. You stick your face in those and drown. I was hoping that you would open the show with Days of Our Lives opening today. The more I listened to the clips and the comments you were bringing up, I totally agree that Aaron sounds like he wants to come back. As a matter of fact, he also made comments that makes me feel like he would be willing to restructure the other deals so he can get other personnel moves done. I also think that he knows that he can still play at a high level and that he's starting to fade ever so slightly, and that Green Bay is the best chance to win. See, that's the other point in all this. That I think you don't want to go somewhere in your last year or two and learn a new system, learn with new guys, the whole thing. I think you stick with what you know. And I think you stick where you think you have the best opportunity to win. I agree with that. He said, lastly, I'm looking forward to the Admirals game Friday, taking the whole family, including my 2 young grandsons. They're going to go and love it. Go to the Badger Band. Oh, the Badger Band at the Admirals game is fantastic. Best night of Admiral hockey every year. That's our buddy Steven Richfield. I didn't even know it was the Badger Band. That's fantastic. Badger Band is awesome. Absolutely awesome. Love those guys. 877-867-1670. But when we come back, Pete Doherty, the Green Bay Press, is going to join us. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at the Water Doctors, the best water softening system hands down out there. Connecticut water softening system. As a matter of fact, I just checked my salt. I have a little bit of salt left. I haven't put salt in my brine tank in probably 6 months, 5-6 months. Fantastic. Love this thing. Love it. Call my buddy John Atlee, 262-549-7733, 262-549-7733. Hands down, the best water softening system on the market. Whether it's just for everyday use, drinking water, whatever it is, the best, hands down. Challenge me on that. Challenge me on that. Connecticut system, nothing better. Get a hold of John Atlee, h2odoctors.com, or call him 262-549-7733. Pete Doherty up next.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Show continues on. Don't forget about our friends at Quick Trip Take-Home Meals. You can take them bake, you can take them home, heat them up, whatever it happens to be, or you just take them right out from underneath the heater. And whether it's the fried chicken, the mashed potatoes, the mac and cheese is fantastic. Oh, so good. Check out our friends at Quick Trip Take-Home Meals. Right, prepare to go. Hands to your tongue, and they are so good. And don't forget to use your Quick Rewards card along the way. That's our friends there at Quick Trip. Check them out. Pete Doherty, the Green Bay Press Gazette, now joining us on the hotline. Pete, how you doing?
Good, Bill. How are you today?
I'm good. So, everything we heard a week ago, which set the world on fire, from Aaron Rodgers and the Pat McAfee show, to what we heard yesterday, which it seemed like Aaron was a little, I want to say, kinder, gentler, a little bit less hard, so to speak. Who knows? But give me your thoughts from your perspective on what you heard yesterday and maybe what some of this stuff means.
Yeah, I just kind of my interpretation of those last two appearances on that show is that he knows that, there's a decent chance he's not back with this team next season. I'm just kind of pulling these numbers out of thin air, but I'm kind of feeling like it's only about, 60-40 he returns, something like that. But I just kind of feel like he's laying the groundwork either for everybody else or for himself. He's kind of letting the Packers know what he thinks ballpark should happen for it to be attractive for him to come back, but he seems to also be acknowledging that he thinks there's a chance they won't do all those things. So I don't know. It's kind of my broad brush view. I don't know what you're thinking.
And again, you see him a lot more than I do, but I thought it was, first of all, he tried to, as he talked about, eliminate some of the conjecture, where he never stood on a table and said, I have to finish my career with these guys. You have to bring them back. It was something that was more of a want to and a like than a necessity. He also talked about, yeah, they'd have to redo some, money in his deal, regardless of what he does to play football this upcoming season. It certainly seems like he's coming back. I mean, I don't doubt that. It just to what actually happens, we'll have to wait and see. But it certainly felt like he was intimating that he's coming back and that he'll have to restructure that deal. He talked about voidable years and all that kind of stuff, I guess, and such. And then, then after that, you also have to figure out if he's going to be a Packer. Is it going to be for 1 year? Are they going to run it back? I just get the sense, Pete, that, and I've said this time and again, the more people I talk to, it's like the organization can't, after this is done, can't go, we had 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks, 30 plus years of Hall of Fame quarterback play, and we only won 2 Super Bowls. If you get to and win 1 more, then you have 4 Super Bowls that you've been to in that period of time, of which you've won 3. And that changes the narrative. I think there's a sentimentality to that, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. And if I said, that he's coming back, by coming back, I meant to Green Bay. I mean, I think it's a given that he's playing football next season. He's not walking away from that money. Yeah. The one thing is look, also, as we learned this last season, the season turned around on a dime because 2 guys, one got healthy and then they found a kick returner. It doesn't take that much for a team to get a lot better. It just takes a player or 2, but it feels like if they run it back, to me, it feels like they're spinning their wheels. They were a pretty decent team by the end of the season. I could see them winning 10 games next year, no problem. But I just don't think, getting to that 4th Super Bowl and winning that 3rd one, man, an awful lot of things got to go right between bargain signings and hitting on a couple draft picks and having a good injury season. So as attractive as that might look, I think Rodgers he's declining some, so he can't carry this team anymore. And I don't know, if I'm them, I'd want to move on. Now he can force himself on them if he really wants, but he's at least giving the impression that if he's not wanted, he doesn't. If they want to move on, then that he doesn't want to be here and he'd want to be traded.
What would you do? You've been around this team a long time, and I got here in '99, and you were still covering the team already by then. And I'm thinking to myself, I've seen a lot, I've done a lot. I've watched how they think. I've talked to Andrew Brandt, and he says, well, this is the way they've always done it. But this is unique because this is the end of that era. Now and I've told people, I said, look, they knew what they had in Aaron Rodgers. It was not easy, but it was easier to move on from Favre. They don't know what they have in Jordan Love just yet. And they while technically correct behind closed doors, they don't know if he's really a winner or not. They're not sure. And I get the sense that you're clutching the end of an era going, we can't just let it go. We got to run it back at least 1 more time.
Yeah, and I even wonder, there's a real chance, and they're never going to show this publicly, but there's a real chance, maybe the GM and coach see this differently. The GMs are almost always the ones who want to move on, give the younger players a shot. Coaches always want to hold on to the veteran and the known commodity. So there might even be differences of opinion. There probably are differences of opinion within the organization on what they want to do. I've kind of, I've heard through the grapevine, I heard from one person, they're kind of okay whichever way it goes. If I were them, I think it's time to move on. I think it's probably even better for both parties. I think Rodgers, might gain from a fresh start. One of the things I'm wondering though is he kind of bluffing on all this stuff, trying to get as much as he can, as far as, having, for instance, some of his teammates veteran teammates he wants back. Is he just trying to get that to work out? And if it doesn't, he's still going to come back and want to play for the Packers anyway. Maybe he doesn't want to start over with somebody else and have to take part in all the off-season stuff and everything, learn a new offense and everything that goes with that.
I agree with that. I don't know what conversations you've had with him. Years ago, I sat down with Aaron and we were talking, and one of the things and this was going back to when, Mike McCarthy was getting a lot of credit for developing him, and he was kind of taking a little bit of offense to that, saying, "Hey, look, it's me too. I'm a damn good quarterback. It's not just Mike McCarthy." And we got into this discussion, and this was completely off mic, and he just said, "I want to be known," because I said, "What is your goal?" And it wasn't about Hall of Fame. It was to be known as the best Packer quarterback in franchise history. He wanted at least 2 Super Bowls and then a lot of the records and or statistics to be the best. I get a sense that that's still hanging in his legacy. He's accomplished the MVPs. He's accomplished all the numbers. I think it just what's eluding him is this one more Super Bowl. And if he could get that, he can ride off into the sunset and breathe easy. I think that's part of what's driving that desire to come back to Green Bay. Do you? And have you had conversations like that with him?
No, that's really interesting, and that makes a lot of sense. And that sounds perfectly like something. It sounds exactly like something he would say, and it's a very high goal. So I'm sure I wouldn't be surprised at all if that were driving him. I also see kind of a flip side of this too, where if the Packers give him an inclination, either straight out saying it or by the moves they make suggesting that they're ready to move on, just like with Favre, wanting to end up with the Vikings, I could see Rodgers wanting to go out and go win a Super Bowl with another team, to stick it to the Packers, to show them, hey, it was me. It wasn't anybody else. I was the important one and the one who mattered most. And so I could see that being a real motivating too, if in fact it does lead to a parting. I mean, that's the way super competitive, mindset people, that's how their minds work.
Now the rest of the team, obviously there's a lot of decisions to be made. Who do you think is in it? Now, obviously you got to look at some of these guys and ask if they even want to come back, like Mercedes Lewis, like Randall Cobb and such. But, how much changeover do you think there's going to be with this team, by the way?
A fair amount. I mean, they don't have a lot of, they don't have any must sign unrestricted free agents. The closest is, Keyshawn Nixon. I think that's pretty important to bring him back. Of all those guys he listed off, Rodgers a week ago, I mean, Bakhtiari, I could very easily see him come back as long as the medical staff thinks that the knee won't be a big problem and that they're over the worst of it and it won't be a big problem next year. But, Cobb, Lazard, Mercedes Lewis, Tunyon, I could see them moving on from all of those guys. Adrian Amos even, I think his contract might be up, so I could see him moving away from, letting all those guys walk.
The Keyshawn Nixon deal, what do you think he garners?
Oh, yeah, I've been thinking about that. It's, I've got to look up what some of these other guys make, but I'm thinking, $4 or $5 million for the next season, somewhere in that range. That would be my best guess, my kind of off the hoof guess.
I love what he did, and I think you're right. You cannot let him go. I mean, for the first time in a long time, you've actually got somebody legit that can actually return on special teams. So I agree with you. What are the other areas of need, do you think? Because I've said if I had priorities, probably going to try to find yourself another safety, but I'd go tight end, wide receiver, and then just start loading up the trenches, because you can never just watching the Packers get kind of pushed around in that Jets game, pushed around in that Giants game, get pushed around in the Philadelphia game. You can never have enough depth in the trenches. That to me, I'd load up there, because everything else, I think you're doing okay.
Yeah, Lions game too. That last game,
Lions
got
game,
pushed around on defense quite a bit. You're right. They kind of need everything. It's, when I think back, I mean, every year they need almost everything. Offensive line, I think they got a lot of depth, especially if Bakhtiari's back, where that's not a big area of need. But I still think, maybe it's just me, I still think pass rush is a huge need. Could be an interior guy, more likely an outside guy, because Preston Smith's getting old and, Gary's coming back from that ACL. So I still think that's a really high priority. But yeah, tight end, even receiver, they could use some help there. Safety, they're probably going to need a starter. So assuming Savage is a slot guy now, so that would rank really high up there too. Tight end and safety are the ones where they need a guy who can come in and start or play right away and help them a lot. But put pass rusher way up there too.
Talking with Pete Doherty, the Green Bay Press Gazette, at Pete Doherty over on Twitter. You can find his stuff. I wanted to ask you about the tight end position because he had mentioned Mercedes Lewis. He talked about Robert Tonyan. My argument is they didn't really throw to him. They didn't design a lot for them. Now, granted, early on in the season, they were being used as blockers and keeping them on the line rather than to give Josh Nijman and some company help. But they didn't really throw to him a whole lot. I mean, so to keep these guys, are you keeping them because they're good locker room guys, or are you just keeping them because you believe they're genuine weapons? Because if you're not getting better, you're getting worse. So give me your thoughts on that tight end position as a weapon.
Yeah, Lewis, I mean, that's got to be just as a locker room guy. I mean, he's a pretty good blocker, but even there, he's what is he, 30? Is he 39 yet? He's at least 38. I mean, that is just ancient for that position. I got to think he's done. I mean, I'll be really, really surprised if they bring him back, but I was surprised they did it last year too. So who knows what they're thinking. Tonyan does seem underutilized, and I still can't figure out whether that's the offense or the quarterback. I mean, the 49ers run the same offense, and they throw to Kittle all the time. So I kind of wonder if there's something that the quarterback, like going farther downfield, or I don't know. But anyway, it does seem like a waste to spend a lot of money there. But if they use a high pick there, maybe they try to feature that guy some more.
Yeah, by the way, Mercedes Lewis is 39 years old, so he'll be 39 this year in a couple months. So yeah, he's up there in age.
That is way up there.
That is way up there for a tight end. Hey, real quick before I let you go. So, we talked about what we think they'll do. It sounds like Rodgers wants to come back. I think, everybody kind of gets the sense that maybe they should move on, but we were talking about they should move on a year ago and then the year before. And Gutekunst said that still, Rodgers gives him the best chance to win in that closing press conference. So do you think he means it, that he really believes Rodgers gives him the best chance to win, and that's the direction they go?
Well, he probably does, for next season. But I don't know if you make the decision just based on that. I think you got to be convinced you have a real Super Bowl contender, because in 2008, Favre would have given them a better chance to win. Rodgers only won 6 games, but they were still better off moving to Rodgers because they had to get him out there and get him playing to where he could grow enough where he could become what he became. So I don't know that I would, if I'm the Packers, that's not the only way I'm looking at this. Now, for job security for the GM and coach, the more winning seasons you have, the better off you are. But if they're really thinking about, a 2 or 3 year horizon for the franchise, if I'm them, I want to see Love and see if he can play and find out. The sooner they find out, the better, because then you either know you have your guy or you start going to the steps of moving on. And you do a trade, you got a little, you get a little more draft ammo for when you do need to replace the quarterback. If let's say they trade Rodgers and they pick up a 1 from somebody, they could trade that for a future 1 next year. And then, if Love doesn't work out, then they'd have a couple first-round picks to maneuver to draft a quarterback next year.
Pete, good stuff as always. I have a feeling in the next 30 days, all this is going to come to a head, and we'll be talking about it again. So until then, enjoy yourself, enjoy some of the offseason, and we'll talk some more later, okay?
Yeah, interesting time, Bill. We'll talk to you soon.
I think it's Groundhog Day, too, as a matter of fact. Good stuff. Appreciate it. There you go. Times. I think we said that the exact same time last year as well. Stay tuned. We got a whole lot more of the Bill Michaels Show. It's all coming up right after this.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Winston Sports Zone Radio Network.
Any season is grilling season, and you can get your favorite cuts delivered right to your doorstep. Go to ScholzieFamilyBeef.com. That's ScholzieFamilyBeef.com.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Now, here's Mike Clemens.
The Philadelphia Eagles are getting ready to host the 49ers in the NFC Championship game this Sunday. The Eagles lost 2 of their last 4 games before dominating the Giants 38-7. Eagles running back Miles Sanders rushed for 90 yards, averaging over 5 yards per carry in the divisional game.
Got to play your best ball. That's what we've been trying to praise and do each and every game this whole season. We still think we haven't played our best ball, but just happy to get this dub and still hungry, and we're not done.
The 49ers have won 12 straight games, the longest winning streak for the franchise since 1984. Joe Montana was the quarterback. Brock Purdy has won 7 in a row. Running back Christian McCaffrey.
We're winning. We got to just do the same thing as we always do every week, and that's correct the mistakes that we make and capitalize on the strengths and keep rolling and play our best game come Sunday.
The team says they're dealing with the news that backup defensive end Charles Omenihu was arrested Monday night in San Jose, charged with suspicion of domestic violence. The 49ers are back in the NFC Championship game for a 3rd time in 4 years under head coach Kyle Shanahan.
We've been here before, and it's very hard to get here. So we're not really reflecting on anything yet. We've got a big game this week, and that's not our ultimate goal either. So in order to do that, we got to make sure we take care of business.
And Aaron Rodgers on the McAfee show says he needs some time off before committing to a 19th NFL season.
I don't think you can wake up on January 24th and say, all right, I'm ready to, go run this thing back. I think even when you're in the midst of a career, in the middle of a career, there's always, moments you're like, man, I need a couple more months.
That's Aaron Rodgers. I'm Mike Clemens on the Bill Michaels Show.
Big sporting weekend coming up, and if you're in the Milwaukee area, you want to go to the place that's called the Cheers of Milwaukee. Stenny's, second to National Walker's Point, Milwaukee's best sports bar, Milwaukee's best sports bar, and you can stop down there and check out the games. You can get shuttles to the games this weekend, whatever game it happens to be, whether it's the Admirals game, Bucks game, Marquette game, UWM game, concerts and such that are in the area. And once baseball season kicks in, Brewers shuttles run all the time. So great stuff from our friends down at Stenny's. And get the wings, the Bill Michaels garlic cheese bread, their famous Bloody Marys. Oh, my goodness, they're so good. And I was never a Bloody Mary fan until I had one of theirs. Like, wow. And now nothing else compares. It's just, it's theirs and that's it. But they're just fantastic people. Second to National Walker's Point, stop down and check out Stenny's. Coming up, we're going to hear from Bill Huber from Sports Illustrated, going to be joining us coming up here in a little bit, so hang in there for that. By the way, when Andy Reid started his press conference today, says, quote, no injuries to report. Everybody's going to practice today. Patrick Mahomes will practice today. Reed said he'll probably do everything he said, or didn't think he'd do everything, but said, look, we'll see. And we're going to make our picks coming up tonight on the huddle. But, Ben, let me ask you this. And I know we're short on time here. Would you bet against Cincinnati strictly for the fact that Kansas City has not been able to beat them? Like they're due.
Oh, no.
The game against numbers. Because some people are.
All those games, as you mentioned, were so close. And I just think the margins are so tiny. So that will not be the reason. I mean, the fact that all the games have been close would lead me to believe that it's a trend, but I don't think it's as significant as some others.
Right.
Like the Packers obliterating the Bears.
Yeah.
So, no. I would bet based on Mahomes' ankle, truly.
Okay. See, I probably would too, and I probably will, but there is that, kind of like the Kansas City Chiefs, they're due. They're due to beat Cincinnati. For no other reason than they're due. 2 hours down, 2 hours yet to go. Stay tuned. A whole lot more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up next.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, Aaron Rodgers hasn't made up his mind if he wants to continue to play or not, but knows if he does decide to return, it might not be in Green Bay. During his weekly appearance on the Pat McAfee show yesterday, Packers quarterback said all the talk of him being traded is conjecture until he actually decides to return. Once that happens, then the difficult conversations with the team about potentially wanting to move on get started. But he said he's not afraid of change if that's the way things end up going.
It's the old adage, that people want to say, the grass isn't always greener on the other side. And I always say the grass is green where you water it. I think that's the most important thing to remember. Change is a part of this business. It's a part of life. I think being open to it and embracing whatever that change looks like is an important part of coming to peace with whatever decision lies ahead of you. And I think that's the most important kind of piece I want to get to.
That audio, courtesy of the Pat McAfee show. Rodgers didn't make up his mind last year whether he wanted to return or not until the first week of March. Turning to Wisconsin, season tickets went on sale yesterday. School held an early bird sale that ended January 6th. Reported that they had 700 new season tickets, which was a 40% increase over last year's sale.
For nearly 40 years, ABC of Wisconsin has been helping men and women transform themselves into well-paid, productive members of their construction teams. Today, we have 2,000 active apprentices in 10 different skilled trade programs, and we educate individuals in more trades than anyone else. To get your career started, go to buildyourcareerwi.org or just search online for ABC of Wisconsin.
Well, Wisconsin is in Maryland. It's where they're going to take on the Terrapins tonight. Badgers have lost 4 of their last 5 games, slid to 4-4 in conference play. Maryland just a game back at 3-5. Tip is coming up at 6. Meanwhile, UW Green Bay fired Coach Will Ryan yesterday. He went just 15-61 in his tenure. And the Bucs going to host the top team in the West tonight as Denver comes to town. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil.
Good stuff. Feeling kind of cooped up on a day like today where the light snow continues to fall. Maybe you're thinking about working out, and we're all starting to dream of warmer weather eventually, and T-shirt season's going to be here. So get a hold of our friends over at New Mail, who can help you drop a few pounds, look better in your T-shirts, maybe give you a little more energy, maybe take care of some of the issues in the bedroom. 414-455-4451. That's 414-455-4451. First couple of hours, we talked a little bit about what Aaron Rodgers had to say yesterday, obviously, and that has been the topic of conversation in so many different realms. Got a ton of email. Tom, listening to us in Door County, he said after hearing him talk yesterday, I still say trade him. He said there would have to be something done with his salary. Some would say you'd have to shift, nothing about giving back. Shifting money out a few years will just strap the team. Now, he never said that. He never said not anything about giving money back. He never said anything about shifting money. He just said something would have to be done, whether you put it in signing bonus or whether you put it in something else or whether you have voidable years or whatever. He never said anything. He just knows that, here's the other question. And I think this is, and I've been asked this a couple of times now over on the Bud Light live stream. So what would you do if Rodgers said, hey, you know what? I'll give a lot of that back. I got basically $100 million for a couple of years, So what if I gave it back? What if I gave it back? What if I gave it back to where, my salary counts maybe 15, 20 million tops on via salary, and it would give us a lot of cap relief. We could restructure a few deals, and I really want to remain a Green Bay Packer. I really want to end my career in Green Bay. Would you feel better then? Would you want to hang on to this then? Or is this just, you know what? It's time. It's just time. Because some people just say it's time. Mark says it took Aaron Rodgers a couple of years to get his feet wet and then to win on a regular basis. He went to the playoffs in his second year, and after that, he was winning a title. Jordan Love could do the same thing. Do you really think Jordan Love could do the same thing? What makes you believe that? Or is that just like wishful thinking? Because I don't know anybody right now that says, oh, yeah, Jordan Love's a real deal. Because I'd take that bet right now. I would take that bet right now. Dennis says, why is it that after every season, writers evaluate every player and discuss players' needs in the draft, yet rarely evaluate the coaching staff and what is needed there? Why should LaFleur and his staff get a free pass? They don't, Dennis. They don't. We have all talked about the evaluation of all these guys. Now, I know Pete Doherty and those guys, they put together a piece on everything from coaching and all that kind of stuff. Situational play calling. I mean, there's evaluations for that, but you can look statistically at players. So you can say what this guy does, the value he brings, the blocks he makes, the blocks he misses. You can look at Pro Football Focus and go through the plus and minuses. So you can kind of look at that. There's a lot of statistical information. When it comes to coaches, it's a little more difficult because a coach can call one thing, but the players may run something else. So is that a failure on the player or a failure on the coach? And I think that's a reality in this. I go back to, poor Sean Slocum, but he was a special teams coach. He was on the sideline yelling at Bostic. Okay, guys, here we go. Look for the onside, blah, blah, blah. Yelling at Bostic. Don't get it. Block. Jordy's got you. Jordy's behind you. I mean, he was yelling all kinds of different stuff, screaming at him. So was that on coaching or was that on Bostic? Now, Sean Slocum, I mean, he was a fall guy for a lot of things, but that was kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back. But he was there yelling. I mean, NFL Films caught it. They've got the I don't know if it was the documentary or the season ending or whatever the hell it was, but and I've seen it. But he was yelling, "Don't you leave it alone, leave it alone, leave it alone." They're all screaming, "Leave it alone. Jordy's got it. Jordy's got it. Jordy's got it." And he still went up and got it. So in that case, is that coaching? Because the guy wasn't disciplined enough to just stay away from it? Or is that just stupidity on the player? It's hard to evaluate coaches because we're not privy to everything that goes on behind closed doors. All we know is the positive or negative energy we feel watching the team play. And Joe Barry came in with a cloud over him already, being a part of Detroit, being a part of Washington, and having epic failures in overall team records. So we knew he was already coming in with very little room for error. But nobody was screaming about Joe Barry, last year at the end of the season. It was just like all of a sudden he just philosophically played a certain way this year. And I don't understand why. Was the personnel better? Was it worse? Why did it take so long to figure out whether or not Savage could play, could play safety, or he was going to play slot, or where he was going to? Why did it take so long for all this stuff? And I understand all of that. That's coaching. I still get upset the fact that nobody knew Keyshawn Nixon was that good. But apparently even Rich Bisaccia didn't know. Nixon knew, but he was the only one that knew. So we do evaluate the coaches basically by wins and losses. If I had to say this season, and I've been on the record saying it, I think Joe Barry should go. I did not. It takes a year when you're elevated as a coach, position coach, to be a coordinator. It takes a year to get everybody underneath you together, because you go from being just a line coach, which that's what you're doing. You've got your 5, 6, 7, 8 guys like Stenovich did. These are the guys I'm going to work on. These are guys I'm going to work with. This is my group. I'm going to sit down with these guys every day. Now you're the guy in charge of the entire offense. You're setting up the room. You're looking at everything, not just the offensive line. You're looking at the plays. You're looking at the wide receivers. You're looking at the running backs, looking at the tight ends, watching the quarterback. You're the guy. You're setting up the room. You're in charge of everything. So the next guy up, which is Butkus, is now coming up, and he's going to be the line coach. And it takes him a while to switch positions, get to a new guy, get those guys all under his wing. Then he had to deal with Bakhtiari. Will he not be back? Elton Jenkins, will he or will he not be back? How soon will he be back? Not Yosh Nijman going left to right. Bringing in 2 new guys, losing Sean Ryan to the PEDs. All of that stuff, that got, kind of, jankied up. So it takes a little while. There's some legitimacy to that. But I thought Matt LaFleur has regressed as a play caller. And I think last year he used his get out of jail free card. If they run this back, the only saving grace for Matt LaFleur will be, let's say they end up doing the exact same thing. The only saving grace for Matt LaFleur then, in my opinion, would be the fact that Jordan Love's going to get this team, and you don't want Jordan Love's first year to be a first-year head coach with a new offensive coordinator and an entirely new system. He's grown up in this system. He's learned this system. He's understood this system. He's really kind of become to evolve within this system. You don't want to put him in a bad situation with a bad new head coach or a new head coach and a new offensive coordinator. That might be the only saving grace, regardless of what the defense does. But I've said it before, I'll say it again. If this team comes back and the defense is playing the exact same philosophy, they're playing soft, they're playing off the ball, the scoring goes up, across the board, a lot of guys you're depending on have down years. That's coaching, man. And you grab that boat anchor, and it's going to take you right to the bottom of the sea. Just my opinion. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Does that make sense? Hopefully it makes sense to you. Hopefully it makes sense. This is from Rob. Rob says, snowy day here on the road making deliveries. Love listening to the program. I think it's time for Jordan Love, as much as I hate to say it. And I love Aaron Rodgers and have an Aaron Rodgers jersey. I just think it's time to move on. We can't cripple this team anymore. We have to find out what we have in Jordan Love. And if he's not good, then the next quarterback class coming in will be better. Maybe you can pick one up in 2024. That is from Rob.
For the record, Bill, it's not only Caleb Williams in that class.
No, there's some
Probably
other quarterbacks.
Drake May, who's a stud.
Yeah.
It's a lot deeper. This class stinks.
Yeah, that's
if
what
the Packers somehow end up with Will Levis in the first round, I'm going to riot.
Right? You hope not. I'm trying to look here. This is from the Fitness Steve, who says, I like what I see in Jordan Love and the growth that he has shown from last year to this year. Okay, Steve, you go on and on about the positive traits of Jordan Love, but where did you see this? Just in those 2 series he played against Philadelphia? I mean, I'm not going to disagree with you. He looked better, and I've said that, so I'm not going to take that away from him. But again, 2 series does not a career make. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something here. 877-867-1670. Maybe I'm just missing something, but 2 series, man, people just seem to think that he's the guru. He's ready to go. And I'm thinking that's great, but do you remember, last year in Kansas City? Do you remember Detroit? I don't know.
Bill, here's a
yeah,
question that I've seen posed out there. What if this whole Rodgers talk about maybe the Packers want to go younger, maybe they choose to go with Love, kind of opening the door for these other options that we've heard if the Packers choose to go down that route? What if him saying all that is him truly saying that he also thinks Love is the guy and he thinks Love is ready and he thinks Love is that good to make that decision or warrant it? Because he sees Love as much as anybody else.
Yeah, but Rodgers, he's in this I love everybody thing now. I don't know. What's he going to say? If he comes back, what's he going to say? Jordan stinks. I love Jordan and all the peace and love and happiness and hugging. And I don't know. I don't buy into that. You're not going to tell. I mean, he's not going to come out and pull in Amari Rodgers and say, well, he's just a backup quarterback. He's not going to do that. Because the whole world would go crazy if that happened. So what's he going to say? You know what I mean? I kind of look at what I just go by the eyeball test. I got to stick with my gut. I got to say, I watched Jordan Love and his highlight reels coming out of college. They were not impressive. I watched Jordan Love for 3 years in this system. He was not impressive. He has 2 series under his belt. He looks like he's matured. He looks like he has confidence, but confidence and maturity don't go a long way into winning games. And people say, well, look, Brock Purdy can come out at this Mr. Irrelevant and be successful. Why not Jordan Love? Well, Ryan Leaf was the number 1 overall pick, and he sucks swamp water. There's no rhyme or reason to this at times. Sometimes it's just you got to hit on the guy, and the guy has to be the guy. And I don't know if Jordan Love's the guy. I don't think so. I think maybe he's going to be average to maybe above average. But the chances of getting back-to-back Hall of Fame quarterbacks with astronomical play it's never been done in the history of the NFL. Never. So why now do you think Jordan Love is going to change the narrative? Is there anything there that says that that's the guy, that he's ready to? And that's the reason I just say, maybe he will be. Maybe he'll prove me wrong, and maybe he'll be the first to ever do it. Maybe this will be the first franchise to have back-to-back Hall of Fame quarterbacks in their history. I don't sit here, I'm not bashing him personally. I just have not seen enough to make me say, oh yeah, he's ready to go. That's it. That's all I'm basing my opinion on. And a lot of the times I just look at things and I go to the eyeball test, yes or no. It's like this year. I looked at Rodgers and I'm like, he looks slower. He just looks slower. I've seen him play his entire career. He looks slower. He looks like he's slowed down. I don't know if he doesn't have his legs under him, if he's ailing a little bit. I don't know. He looks slower. He looks like everything's slowed down a little bit for him. But Aaron Jones, when he's got healthy legs, he looks like he has an extra burst. He's got an extra gear. You just see him pop. You can see it. The eyeball test will tell you. I don't need statistic to tell me he's gained a step or he's got a little bit faster. He just hits the hole a little bit quicker, that millisecond quicker that gives him that ability to get through the hole and pick up positive yardage. You can just see it. And then when his legs are ailing, when he's got an ankle, when he's got a knee, you can see he's just a little bit slower. You can just see it. So sometimes I just got to see it. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Hit us up. Would love to hear from you and give me your thoughts. Bill Huber's coming up in this hour as well. We're going to talk with him, Bill Huber from Sports Illustrated, and get his thoughts on all this. Maybe he's the same as Pete. Who knows? Maybe he's right there in lockstep with Pete Doherty and what Pete had to say, or maybe he's thinking around different lines or something. We'll talk about that coming up. Hey, don't forget about our friend Kirk and the gang over at Cruise Planners. They got best deals right now going on, whether it's cruises, all-inclusives. You want to go to Mexico, you want to lay in the sand, Good. You want to go down to the Caribbean? There you go. You want to take something overseas? You want to go to Italy? You want to go someplace else? They can help you out. Or if you just want to take a cruise, 3-day, 5-day, 7-day, whatever it happens to be, they can help you out. And they can help you out by putting a deposit down. They can even help you out by financing it. You can do that as well, but you can't do anything if you don't call 262-344-0697. 262-344-0697. Again, 262-344-0697. Ask them about the leftover Black Friday deals. Ask them about all the great deals they have right now on the ships that are sailing on short-term deals January through March. And they've got cruise packages, land tours, completely packaged vacations, whatever it happens to be, whatever you need, your family needs, people from all over the country, that's fine. You want to bring them all together, you're good to go. Check out our buddy over at Cruise Planners. That's Kirk, 262-344-0697, 262-344-0697. That's our friends at Cruise Planner.
Get ready to ride the wave of adventure with groundbreaking new ships and one ultra chic resort. For the ultimate family vacation experience, introducing Royal Caribbean's Icon class of ships, featuring thrills you never dared to imagine, and a next-level chill you never dreamed possible. Or get more space, more luxury, and more connected to the sea on Celebrity Beyond. Explore Norwegian's new Prima class, designed to elevate every expectation. Or fall in love all over again at the newly reimagined Sandals Dunn's River. This is a vacation designed for you. Call your advisor today to ask about special offers and amenities. Cruise Planners, your cruise and vacation experts since 1994.
Welcome back to the program. Glad to have you. The Bill Michaels Show. We continue on. Here's something for you. And I think it's eye-opening for those that say it's no big deal. I would beg to differ. Brandon says, Jim Plunkett, who many people believe he should be in the Hall of Fame, Joe Theismann, Jim McMahon, Phil Simms, Doug Williams, Jeff Hostetler, Mark Ripien, Trent Dilfer, Brad Johnson, Eli Manning, Drew Brees might end up in the Hall of Fame, and that's it. I take it back. Matthew Stafford and Nick Foles. I don't think Russell Wilson's going to the Hall of Fame either. Eli Manning might. He might. But those are guys that are borderline. So let's say Eli goes. Let's say Drew Brees goes. So that would make 41 out of 55 quarterbacks that have won Super Bowls are Hall of Famers. So to say you can get it done, no big deal. No, you can't. And you're about 50-50 with Hall of Famers that have lost Super Bowls, but got their teams there. Out of the what is it, 55, 56 Super Bowls, about half are led by Hall of Famers to get to the Super Bowl. So to say that, you're absolutely 100% dead wrong. Can it be done? It can be done. But if you don't have a Hall of Fame quarterback, the likelihood of you getting there, you are really fighting an uphill battle. That means you have to really piece together an incredible team to have it all come together at the right time and support a average, like you said, to below average quarterback. Especially in today's day and age where passing is so vital. You just have to. Seattle had the Legion of Boom. Joe Flacco won with an incredible defense led by Ray Lewis, Ed Reed and company. And remember, they weren't playing a Hall of Famer either in Colin Kaepernick. Tom Brady beat Russell Wilson the next year. Then it was Peyton Manning, Tom Brady. Nick Foles beat Tom Brady. That was an incredible run with an incredible team. But then it's Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, Matthew Stafford with an incredible defense that beat the hell out of a bad offensive line for Joe Burrow in the second half of that game. To say that is completely erroneous. Completely erroneous. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. So, 39 out of the 55 Super Bowls that have been won with a quarterback that is in or will be in the Hall of Fame. And there's two of which that are 50-50, Eli Manning and Drew Brees. And if they end up in it, then it's 41 out of 55, which would mean there's 14 Super Bowls that were won by quarterbacks who are not Hall of Fame material. So to say you don't need a Hall of Famer to win a Super Bowl, you're right, you don't, but you are really fighting an uphill battle. And it's 50-50 for the teams that got there and lost the Super Bowl. 50-50 for teams that don't have or do have a Hall of Fame quarterback. Don't take my word for it. Go look it up. But I just went through the whole list of Super Bowl starting quarterbacks. 877-867-1670. Find us. Again, 877-867-1670. Would love to hear from you. Let's do this real quick. Let's go to Ken listening to us in La Crosse. Ken, how you doing today, man? What's going on?
Hey, I'm doing fine. Thanks for taking the call.
You bet.
Been a Packer fan since '66. And we've seen a lot of coaches and we've learned a lot. One of the coaches I admire the most is Holmgren. Holmgren was good at just about everything, but he meant discipline. When we see a punt returner drop, 4 kicks, would have never happened with Holmgren. And then a linebacker get ejected twice.
Right.
I think we have a coaching problem that is going to probably be changed next year. We have one coach that actually turned around the special teams unit. He did a hell of a job this year.
I would agree.
Like back to Holmgren, the staff that you have, obviously the head coach sets the tone, but it also includes the staff that you have. I think that a good coaching staff can make a winner, a champion, out of just about any team.
Oh, take a look at what Doug Peterson did as opposed to Urban Meyer. Appreciate the phone call because we got to run here, but take a look at what Doug Peterson did over Urban Meyer this past year. He took a team that was down and out, one of the worst teams in football. They looked terrible, turned them around, went in the season, put them in the postseason. Now we'll see what they do from here on out, but absolutely, I 100% agree with you. 100% agree with you. No doubt about it. Bill Huber of Sports Illustrated going to join us coming up next, this portion of the program. Brought to you by our friends at Robert's Specialty Meats in Waukesha. Whatever you're looking for, ribs on a stick, the garlic parm, the chicken skewers. If you're looking for the Al Capone roast, they're just great steaks, great chops right there. He is your hometown butcher. That's our buddy Paul Robertson. Robert's Specialty Meats in Waukesha on Sunset Drive. Check him out. We got more to come right after this.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Going on as they're closing down the Northern Lights Theater and putting in the brand new sports book, which is going to go up in Potawatomi Hotel Casino. So look for that to open up probably in the next 6 to 8 months. But a lot of excitement down in Potawatomi. If you're looking for a pack, one of those nights where you just hunker down, go to the room, go down, have a few beverages, go get something good to eat, gamble a little, go back up to the room. The whole thing right there under one roof. That's Potawatomi Hotel Casino. Go to paysbig.com. That is paysbig.com. Joining us on the hotline, our guy Bill Huber is standing by from Sports Illustrated. Bill, how you doing, man?
Great. How about you?
I'm doing good. So we talked to Pete Doherty a little bit earlier. Give me your thoughts on what you've heard now and your perspective on where this whole Aaron Rodgers thing is.
I have no idea, Bill. I mean, we're all guessing, right? If I had to bet $1, I would say they're going to trade him, but shoot. There's so many things we don't know, right? I mean, this is going to be an organizational decision. I mean, Mark Murphy doesn't have a say in the punter, right? Mark Murphy doesn't care about the punter, but if you're going to get rid of the quarterback, I would think this has to be an organizational thing. B, does anybody want him given the contract? I mean, look, what are you going to give for a draft pick for a guy if you don't know that he's going to play for more than a year, right?
Right.
So you got to get there's the unknown of that part of it. There's the unknown of what the Packers really think about Jordan Love. I mean, there's so many things we don't know. What I would say though is, I think there's enough of the fan base that's ready to move on that I think the franchise maybe has the ability to do it. Like if they had got rid of him a couple of years ago, I think holy hell would have. I mean, it'd have been like hailing frogs and stuff, right? I mean, the bleep would have hit the fan. But I think with a couple early exits from the playoffs, his lack of big game clutch play, I think there's enough of the fan base that's ready to move on. I think maybe the organization can do this in good conscience.
Do you think they move on from him?
Yeah, I think. Again, that's what I think. But I mean, sure, we're all just guessing here. Look, they drafted Jordan Love for a reason, and that's to play the guy.
Mm-hmm.
You can't have the guy sit in the bench forever, right? I mean, contractually you can, but I mean, you just can't. Not in today's NFL, right? If you're going to if you're going to go back with Rodgers, Jordan Love's going to be on the phone 2 seconds later asking for a trade, and he should. It's time for him to play, not just because it's time for him to play, but it's you're screwing with the guy's earnings potential at this point. So I think he's going to. I would think he'd want to get out, and if he wants to get out, then where are you, right? I mean, you're going to go back with a 39, 40-year-old quarterback for what? Then now you're back to square one. So to me, you probably need to do it.
So with what Rodgers said about, obviously he talked about the deal and the money and obviously have to make some changes. He even talked about the possibility of, avoidable years and taking less or whatever, I mean, he didn't come out and say it, but he knows. He knows you can't cash strap things. He can't cash strap them for a trade. He can't cash strap them for next year. So he's getting that sense. He talked like maybe he wanted to come back. Sentimentally wise, he wanted to come back. When they hit camp come July, is Rodgers under center?
No. Again, I'm guessing I don't have any intel here. It's just my feeling that no. And if you're going to make a trade, it's probably got to happen before the league year starts, which the start of free agency with the salary cap and the ability. If you're going to trade him, you probably have to go get another quarterback, and you're going to be Jordan Love's backup. So I think there's a lot of dominoes that would have to fall if you're moving on. So I would think. Yeah, I don't think it's a thing that they would trade him on July 1st, right, or August 1st. I think that would happen sometime when the next free agency starts in 5-6 weeks, something like that. So yeah, somewhere in that window.
Yeah, we did a poll yesterday with almost 3,500, 4,000 votes. It said 68% said we would trade him, trade him away.
Yep.
So I do you think it's because of the money? Do you think it's because had he come off of an MVP season, people aren't really ready to trade him away? Had his contract not been so big, people aren't really ready to trade him away. Had he not been somewhat, kind of cryptic and wishy-washy, like here we go again, I don't think people are so quick to trade him away. I think I've called it Rodgers fatigue, much like I called it Favre fatigue. I think it's that people are kind of like, you want him to just say, I want to come back. I want to play. I'm ready to go. I'll give some money back. Let's do this. Then I think the attitude changes, right?
Yeah, I think the fatigue. I think that's a really good way to put it, Bill. I think people are just tired of it. And again, you can deal with it if they're winning big games. This isn't an Aaron Rodgers problem, right? I mean, there's a lot of reasons why they haven't won big games, and he's among them. I'm not passing the buck to elsewhere, but you got to win, right? And people. I think people see at least their viewpoint would be, and maybe they're 100% right that. If we didn't win the Super Bowl in 2019, we didn't win in 2020, we didn't win in 2021, and we can't even make the playoffs in 2022, what are we doing, right? Might as well tear it up and move on. So I certainly understand the sentiment of it, and I think, between that and the fatigue part of another offseason and the stuff, I would agree that's probably what it is.
What else does this team need?
just about everything, right?
Well, I think I would say that you tell me if the assessment is correct. I think they need a tight end. I think that's one of the priorities. Another wideout, I think, would be a priority. I think obviously depth on the defensive front, not that you're, ailing, but if you can find more and more depth on the defensive front, I would happily do it. Another safety would be solid. Another outside pass rusher or inside pass rusher would be good because you can never have too many. And after that, it's just depth on the offensive line. Now, granted, you can say everywhere, but that's kind of my priority, so to speak.
Yeah, I guess I can say. Tight end's a big deal because they flirted with getting Darren Waller at the trade deadline. I would assume that means they're ready to move on from Tunyon. Maybe Lewis comes back, maybe he doesn't, but you need to get someone there. Safety's a big deal with Amos hitting the free agency, Rudy Ford hitting free agency. Outside linebacker is a huge deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
You lost Rashawn Gary last year, and there's no guarantee he's back for week one. There's no guarantee that Rashawn Gary, who everybody knows is going to be back at any time, right? I mean,
right.
That's a tough injury. Maybe he's ready, full speed Gary by midseason, but who knows? So I think it's a priority. D-line, you got, Jaron Reed and Dean Lowry are free agents, so you're down 2 of your 5 there, so that's a need. I mean, other than inside linebacker, right? Maybe running back, yeah, you probably need someone anywhere. But yeah, I would think outside linebacker, safety, tight end. I would say would be your big three.
The coaching staff and the fact that Matt LaFleur is, for all intents and purposes, running it back with Joe Barry, in favor of that?
Nope. I said it probably on this show. I said it on our podcast. I said last year, if they're not top 5 in points allowed, the guy should be fired. And that was a little bit of tongue in cheek, right? I mean, if you finish 6th, you're thrilled, but they finished like 17th. And it's not. I mean, they were, because the offense played such ball control, eat up the clock football. They were 28th in yards per play, pass and run. So I mean, they're bad everywhere. Why he's back is one of life's great mysteries. I don't understand that, other than you can't fire your coordinator every year, right? Because at some point you're gonna be looking for a coordinator, and the guy who you want to hire is going to say, "Well, I almost swore. Well, shoot, you fire your guy every year or two. I'm not moving my family, because you're an impatient man. I mean, and then also too. I mean, you can only fire so many coordinators before you get fired too. So I guess maybe there's that, but man, I don't. For the life of me, I have no idea the thinking there.
Give me your assessment and what you think, seeing this team on more of the daily. What do you think of Jordan Love?
Yeah, I can't say that I'm super enthusiastic about it. But again, we have such incomplete information. Like I saw him every day at training camp, but he's also running the 2s at training camp too. I mean, if we're going to excuse away Rodgers for having rookie receivers, right? And you should to some extent. I think we also need to take everything with a grain of salt that I saw on the practice field when he's going with young guys and a young offensive line. It's really hard to tell. I mean, he was so bad against the Chiefs in 2021, and he was so bad at Detroit in 2021. And it's like everyone's basing this on, what did he throw, 9 passes against Philly?
9 passes in 2 series against Philadelphia.
9 passes. Now, he was sharp, but even Love after the game said they were playing soft, right? So even Love put his own asterisk. That's not me putting an asterisk on it. That's Jordan Love putting an asterisk on it. That being said, there's enough of those plays where you can certainly see what the Packers saw in that draft, and to back up what the coaches have said. I mean, the guy, he can legit make all the throws. He can run. I don't. Maybe I'm just jaded by 2021 when he looked like he was in over his head.
Talking with Bill Huber of Sports Illustrated, at Bill Huber SI over on Twitter. Before I let you go, you tell me how far away, because I look at these teams this weekend, and I look at the dominating defense of San Francisco. I look at that machine of an offense of Philadelphia, what they have in Patrick Mahomes, what Joe Burrow is doing that is just so technically sound. How far away are the Packers from being here?
Yeah, pretty far, I think, unless Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs are the next big thing. I mean, look at the Bengals, right? With Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd's a pretty good third receiver. I mean, that's a dominant group. Even the 49ers, without the quarterback being such a question mark. But when you have Ayuk and Samuel and George Kittle, I mean, those are 3, and McCaffrey too at running back. Those teams have so many playmakers.
Yeah, and Hayden Hurst at tight end for Cincinnati, who tends to be underrated, but he's a hell of a tight end.
Right. So those teams have. I mean, and the Eagles are preposterous how many guys they've got. Those teams have so much skill position talent. It just makes your head spin. How does? So you've got to somehow match that, because that seems like that's the way it goes. Right? I mean, you have to have a lot of weapons, and I don't. Again, unless Watson and Dobbs take that cliched year 2 jump, which they certainly could, and you hit it out of the park at tight end, maybe you can keep up. But to me, those guys have so much better skill position talent that's awful wide gulf the bridge.
Bill, great stuff as always, bud. We look forward to reading your stuff, and then we'll talk again soon, I'm sure, as the world turns via the Green Bay Packers.
All right, Bill, take care. Have a good one.
Thanks, bud. Talk to you soon. There you go, Bill Huber of SI, and he's said many things on this show and other shows, and he's right. And when you start to think of it in that perspective, as to other teams that are there, and you look at the weaponry, where are the Green Bay Packers in relation? And I think you got to be honest. They're still a good ways away. You need another tight end. You need another wide receiver. Pretty good run game. Offensive line pretty good, but you need another wide receiver. You need a good pass catching tight end, more weaponry, and you need to shore up some of the defense. But there is one comment that just came through over on the Bud Light live stream that I want to ask for a while. And I think it might hold true. And this is, it's a reality question. And I want to get into that when we come back. I really do, because I thought it was a terrific question. And there's discussions going on over there, but I think still it's a really terrific question. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. You know I swear by them. I have them in my house. Absolutely, positively love them. And I can't say enough about them. On a day like this, snow is flying, wind's blowing a little bit, and the downstairs great room, which is a very large room, stays right at 70 degrees. It no longer fluctuate. On a day like this, I would go down and be like 67, 65, something like that. Just couldn't keep up because of the old aluminum patio door. That was a triple pane, by the way. And now, perfect. Just perfect. It's economical for your home. It adds value to your home. The windows are fantastic. You can get them in crank or slider window, roll screens inside the windows. So many different options, interiors, exteriors. And how about this? Right now, no interest until 2029. You can get that deal, but you got to schedule. Call them for the free in-home consultation right now. 855-PELLA, P-E-L-L-A, 855-PELLA-WI. Call 855-PELLA-WI or go online and check them out at PELLAWI.com. No interest until 2029. Ends at the end of the month. You got to get a hold of them now. PELLAWI.com or 855-PELLA-WI. Interesting question about mediocrity when we come back.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Even when the weather outside is frightful, your energy bill could be much more delightful. Hi, I'm Gina Della from Pella. Replacing drafty windows and doors can dramatically lower your energy costs. Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin offers some of the most energy efficient windows in the industry, designed to keep the cold outside where it belongs. You'll help kick the January blues when you choose to book by the 31st for 0% interest up to 2029. You heard that right. No interest up to the year 2029 if you book by January 31st. Pella's premium wood windows and patio doors feature distinguished craftsmanship and nearly endless possibilities, with maximum design flexibility in dramatic sizes, custom colors, finishes, profiles, product types, and more. Hurry to get the 0% in 2020 half January 1st. Visit PellaWI.com.
Certain restrictions apply.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Now, here's Mike Clemens.
The Cincinnati Bengals will be on the practice field today getting ready to play the Chiefs at Arrowhead for the AFC Championship game. Bengals center Ted Karras injured his knee in their win over the Bills, but says he and his teammates will be ready to play by Sunday.
Just so many great guys in here that gritted it out. Defense holds Josh Allen to 10 points. Just to move on for a chance at the Lamar Hunt Trophy. Let's go.
Despite missing 3 starters, the Bengals offensive line allowed only 1 sack on quarterback Joe Burrow against the Bills' defensive front. Bengals head coach Zach Taylor.
Yeah, to rush for over 170 yards, to handle the noise the way they did, to protect Joe the way that they did. I thought our offensive line was outstanding.
The last time the Chiefs lost a game was December 4th against the Bengals in Cincinnati. Since then, Kansas City has won 6 in a row. Chiefs tight end Travis Kelce.
Everybody's locked in right now. I think if you looked at that team out there, you saw everybody communicating very well, coached team on all 3 phases. And when we play like that, we give ourselves a really good chance of winning.
And Aaron Rodgers says he'll be golfing in a Pebble Beach tournament next month, taking some time off before he decides on his football career. Rodgers on the McAfee show says trade talks are premature, but
you never know. I mean, anytime there's a situation where change is possible, what's the old adage, that people want to say, oh, the grass isn't always greener, on the other side. And I always say the grass is green where you water it.
That's Aaron Rodgers. I'm Mike Clemens on The Bill Michaels Show.
Welcome back. Good to have you. Hey, our friends at Cunis RV. Boy, they got a lot of RV shows. If you go to cunisrv.com, they have probably a show coming to your area soon. I know they're going to be all over the state of Wisconsin. They're going to be in Sheboygan. They're going to be in Waukesha. I think they got something going on to the western portion of the state as well. But at one point or another, we're probably going to be out and about doing a show from one of their events. But nevertheless, we're going to be obviously supporting them. They support us. The Big Unit Cruiser is going to be coming probably in March or April. By the way, speaking of March, Ben, today I just got the official word. Would you like to play in on a Saturday, March 6th in Viroqua, the Bill Michaels Open?
Oh, no doubt.
You have
My
been
game
invited.
will be informed by then.
You have been invited.
Yeah.
So they're going to make arrangements, and they're going to bring us into town. And now we could even bring, Rowdy and Evo if they wanted to play. But, but we're going to go into town. I'm probably going to do the show there on Friday and head out around town on Friday and Friday night. And then on Saturday, play in the Bill Michaels Open, and then probably either head back Saturday night or on Sunday. But, so you've been invited to play. So we'll do the show. After the show, you get off the air, you come to Viroqua, we'll all go hang out, and then we'll get up on Saturday morning and play at the Viroqua Country Club, or right there, the golf course right up the street from WBRQ, our fine affiliate. We'll play some golf. So the Bill Michaels Open is now official in Viroqua. Oh, yeah. Looking forward to it. We got another hour yet to go. Stay tuned. Whole lot more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up right after this. And we're back. Good to have you. The Bill Michaels Show on the air. Yet another hour of the program. 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. Give us a shot. Got a lot of different stuff floating around. I know that, there's some Brewers rumors floating around out there. Brewers trying to find themselves third baseman. They're trying to find themselves some left-handed relief. That's going around out there right now. You've got, the golf stuff. Rory McIlroy and Patrick Reed. Patrick Reed says Rory McIlroy flicked a tee at him. Did you see this, Ben?
Other way around.
Yes. Patrick Reed flicked a tee at Rory McIlroy. And
I'm all over it.
Because Rory McIlroy wouldn't shake his hand, right?
There's video. Yes, it's confirmed.
Okay. Is Patrick Reed and people were like, well, why is Rory being such a baby about it? It's because he was he was subpoenaed on Christmas, right?
On Christmas Eve. Yeah, you just really can't make stuff like this up. It's unbelievable.
Has Patrick Reed just lost his damn mind?
Well, his lawyers, and I think his wife, allegedly, so that we don't get included in the lawsuit, are issuing subpoenas to Tiger, to Justin Thomas, and there's proof of all of them when they're issued. And they subpoenaed Rory on Christmas Eve, and now it's January 24th. And Reed goes up to Rory's caddy and wishes him a happy new year, which I can't get over because it's the end of January. And then he goes to try to shake Rory's hand. Rory just doesn't acknowledge him. And then he takes one of his live golf tees and throws it at him and walks away. It's unbelievable. And then afterwards in the press conference, he said, oh yeah, maybe one day we'll all stop acting childish and grow up with all this stuff.
God. Patrick Reed is just such a turd, isn't he? I mean, I guess the live guys love it, right?
I don't know.
You kind of feel like maybe they love it because of, Patrick Reed going to the live tour and, trying to shame one of the guys that have been shaming them. But it's just so bizarre.
Maybe not in the form of subpoenas. Because this isn't part of the golf. There's a lawsuit going on that's actually PGA Tour versus Live, and that has substance on each side. This one is Reed has defamation lawsuits out to Golf Channel and CNN for like $800 million of damages.
He's never going to see that. He's never going to see that. I cannot imagine any judge giving him that money. I can't imagine any of this. Patrick Reed has just become such a weenie. Rory on T-Gate, as they're calling it now. I didn't see a T coming my direction at all, but apparently that's what happened. And if roles were reversed and I'd have thrown that T at him, I'd be expecting a lawsuit. Patrick Reed's like a punchline now.
Patrick Reed said, quote, if you're going to act like an immature little child, then you might as well be treated like one.
God. Well, Liv will be back. Are the Liv guys allowed to play in the Masters? I've lost my interest in that in the offseason.
So the ones that are already qualified, meaning the past champions and those that are still in the top 50.
Okay. So the top 50 will be. Okay. But so the past champions will be allowed and those. Okay. I'm not a fan of that because that would have been because the Masters can do whatever they want. You know what I mean? So that would have been like the ultimate where the creme de la creme would have looked down and said, no, we're going to pass. And that might have been the large punch in the face for the Live Tour. That if the Masters said, but the Masters kind of said, yeah, we'll go ahead and do it. We'll go ahead and do it.
I'm actually okay with it.
Are you?
If it's guys that are already qualified because they have won or are deserving of being in it, because the majors are separate from the tour, and not to, go golf nut, but it's, I separate that from the tour versus live feud. The
Mhm.
majors are always separate.
Right.
And same with the Ryder Cup, frankly. I'd be fine if they played the Ryder Cup. That's another separate entity. But they have to be good enough to qualify, which is the big question, because everyone playing over there, except for guys, stink.
The other thing, what is their qualification to get in? Because if you're on the live tour, you're not gaining points, right?
Yep. Plummeting. The qualification is that you've won previously. That's really it.
That's it. Yeah. Because on the live tour, not gaining any ground to be somehow invited to come and play. So it's basically the guys that are former champions. Because if you're not getting points via the live
Cam
tour
Smith.
and Cam Smith, but if you're not getting any points via the live tour, then you're not basically in the top 50, right?
Yes, and if you were, you are falling. You're plummeting very fast.
Yeah.
So it'll work itself out.
Yeah.
What sucks is all of the villains and all the people you love to root against are all on that tour, which sucks for me.
Yeah.
Right? I want to see Rory and Patrick Reed be paired together and, walk in each other's lines.
Mhm.
Rory exposes him for cheating again, things of that nature.
Yeah, the cameras never lie. And the whole thing with Patrick Reed is like, he did what he did. So he's now open for commentary. The only time that you can sue and win is if it's erroneous and it is meant to cause you harm. That's it. I mean, that's such an uphill battle, but he's just suing everybody. He's just an idiot.
On Christmas Eve, Bill.
On Christmas Eve, having
I can't
people
get over
serve.
it.
Just
I
like,
also,
wow.
I think the funniest part of all of it is that he went up to wish them a happy new year.
Right?
And it's January 25th.
Maybe it's Happy New Year in golf or something. I don't know. But just like, what a weenie.
I love it. It's awesome.
Hey, actually, when we're out in Arizona in a couple of weeks, that's the Waste Management Open.
It is.
Same
correct.
weekend. Yeah, we're going to be out there for all of that. We are staying in Old Scottsdale, which is not far from the TPC Scottsdale. We're going to be hanging out in that area. The last time they had the Super Bowl in Arizona, the media night was actually at the TPC Scottsdale. We couldn't get on the course to play it or anything because they'd already shut it down for the tournament. But all the tents covered all the parking lots and the catering and such in the area. And that's where we spent the evening at the TPC Scottsdale. That's where they held the media. So I don't know where the media party's going to be, but that place is packed. And I was looking online because we got a house a while back it was like a couple $100 a night on Airbnb. And now those houses are going for $500, $600, $700 a night on Airbnb. Some of those houses, if you wanted to rent a house, there's a house right now in Paradise Valley. I think it's on Airbnb, where it's like a 4-bedroom house, beautiful home, pool, the whole thing, for the weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday of the event, leaving on Monday. I think the total is for the 4 days, 5 nights, 4 days. I think the total right now is like $12,000 or $13,000. It's being rented out. I mean, it's a beautiful $1 million mansion, but it's like 12 or 13, $14,000 or something like that. I was looking at. It's just crazy. That whole area is going to be nuts. My buddy, who we talked about when we were out in Sturgis, my buddy who does the Ansia sound art, who has those, beautiful canvas prints that you can turn anything into a canvas print, but it becomes speakers. He's got a shop. His original shop is out in Old Scottsdale, right across the street from I think it's the Rusty Spur or the Rusty Nail. I can't remember what it's called. But that's apparently they've shut all the streets down already. That's where ESPN's building their studio in Old Scottsdale. They're building their set there right now because ESPN always has to be separate from everybody else. They don't want to be near anybody else. But that's where they're building their set is right there in Old Scottsdale. So it's my point is basically that coming up in a couple of weeks, that place is going to be a buzz. a crazy buzz. I'm really looking forward to it. 8-7
plus,
you go ahead.
Plus, you think about some of the fan bases left. It's not as if, and the Super Bowl was in LA, but the Rams were in it, and the
Right.
fans. But you talk about like a Cincinnati versus Philadelphia
Mm-hmm.
joining.
Yep. Oh,
Yeah.
my nephew called me last night and wants to know if, hey, can I get on Radio Row? Can I come around? Can I do this? Can I do that? I'm like, no, you can come by as a fan. Maybe I can get you a pass as a fan, but I can't just put you out there to hang out for whatever reason. But he said, oh, okay, well, we're going to come out. I said, you get a room yet? He said, no. I said, start checking on hotels. And I would start in Tempe and go south, or start in Cave Creek and go north. Because out west is by Glendale, Arizona, which is where the stadium is. And east is Scottsdale, which is where the TPC is. So unless you go to Sun City, which is the old people retirement area, so to speak, or you go south beyond Tempe, there's nothing really around the city's going to get you at a decent price. And he started looking. He's like, holy crap, you weren't kidding. I said, I told you, man. Crazy out there. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. If you want to hit us up, feel free to go ahead and give us a call. Would love to hear from you. This is from Mark Nolan, as a matter of fact. I think if you're not the same guy, have a pair of your shoes. Mark says, hey, unit, love the show. Don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to come back. I think he's positioning himself to say, hey, the team let me go, but I wanted to come back. I don't know if I necessarily trust him. Okay. I can understand that. Here's another question, and I was talking about this earlier. And this was brought up over on the Bud Light live stream that says, God, let me find it again, because I had it right here, and since then the stream is, people go crazy. It said a lot of you fans are wanting to get rid of Aaron Rodgers, and it seems like you're setting yourself up for mediocrity. Are you willing to accept mediocrity under a so-so quarterback, or just an above average quarterback, just to get rid of Aaron Rodgers? Most people are ready to move on, not because they think Love is a Hall of Famer, but because building around 12 is not getting you any closer to a Super Bowl. It's been an attempt for 12 years now. And that was kind of the question you brought up yesterday, Ben, because if you believe that if you believe that Aaron Rodgers is still a winner, then you're probably hanging on. But if you feel like, nah, they're banging their head against the wall here. It's never going to happen. They're never going to be a Super Bowl team. They're too far away. No, we're fooling ourselves. We're talking ourselves into postseasons and Super Bowls, when really we should be talking about rebuilds, reloads, getting the team better around a average to maybe above average quarterback. And that's kind of the question that a lot of people are starting to answer. And I think a lot of Packers fans are pretty smart to see how much money is eventually going to be kicked down the lane. And Scott says, I'm way too sentimental. I want to see Aaron Rodgers ride out with a trophy and make it one last hurrah in Green Bay. I think there's probably less of those people than there are of the people that are ready to move on. And that's why the question becomes so prevalent when you say, what happens if you move on and Jordan Love's not the guy? What happened if you move on and Aaron Rodgers wins somewhere else? Then what? Are you okay with that? And as Mark says, use the old Ted Thompson phrase, I'd rather get rid of a guy a year too soon than a year too late. Right. But that's saying you got a guy. You got rid of running backs, it's because you had another running back. If you got rid of a wide receiver, it's because you always had more wide receivers. They've been really good in every area at pretty much picking guys up or getting rid of mediocre guys. But if you get rid of a guy who is the guy to move on, and he still has success in more places, and the guy you moved for is not the guy, then you've made a really big mistake. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's a very, very tough decision. I think there's a lot of people that are kind of holding their breath at this point. And
I don't think that if Love is not the guy, I don't think it's the hardest out going forward because you don't have anything tied up in him after next season.
Yeah, you don't have that.
So you would have draft ammo.
You would probably pay him this season. You would probably give him a contract. You got to make a decision on his contract. I think in March.
But that would be for one more year, correct? Not for a long-term
Well, you can
deal.
either pick up his 5th-year option or you can give him a deal that's going to be more team friendly if you believe he's the guy. Just depends on what you want to do. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah. If you go the 5th-year option route, though, and then he sucks and the team is really bad, then draft ammo. You're up at the top in a really good quarterback draft.
Yeah.
There are a lot more outs in that scenario than there are in the other.
877-867-1670. Hit us up. A lot more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up next.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Even when the weather outside is frightful, your energy bill could be much more delightful. Hi, I'm Gina Della from Pella. Replacing drafty windows and doors can dramatically lower your energy costs. Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin offers some of the most energy efficient windows in the industry, designed to keep the cold outside where it belongs. You'll help kick the January blues when you choose to book by the 31st for 0% interest up to 2029. You heard that right. No interest up to the year 2029 if you book by January 31st. Pella's premium wood windows and patio doors feature distinguished craftsmanship and nearly endless possibilities, with maximum design flexibility in dramatic sizes, custom colors, finishes, profiles, product types, and more. Hurry! To get the 0% interest up to 2029, you have to book by January 31st. Visit PellaWI.com.
Certain restrictions apply.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back to the program. Good to have you on board the Bill Michaels Show. We continue on. 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. Hit us up. Would love to hear from you. Again, 877-867-1670. Hey, our friends at Boondocks Barbecue Burgers and Brews letting you know that they got a lot of good stuff going on out there. We've talked about it time and again, but if you're looking for something to do, looking for a good weekend, looking for a good place to go, they have got all kinds of stuff. They're expanding. They've got a pizza. They've got a flatbread pizza. They got upcoming events. They got a fabulous 50s night. They're bringing in Elvis. I don't think they're digging him up, but a dude that looks like Elvis, sings like Elvis, acts like Elvis, swings his hips like Elvis. And Elvis is making a recurrence after the movie. So there you go. That's coming up at the end of the month. As a matter of fact, that's going to be on Saturday night. Paint and Sip with the Dancing Brushes Studio coming up on February 11th. The 12th is going to be a Sunday Fun Day Bingo Bash. And then the Sportsman Night at the Boondocks. Going to be hanging out there, door prizes and weapons and all kinds of stuff. And part of the proceeds going to the Wisconsin Hero Outdoors. So that's coming up on February 20th. Follow them on Facebook, Boondocks BBQ and Brew, right there on County Road K in Oconomowoc. See for yourself what I've been talking about. Good stuff. 877-867-1670. Hit us up. Want to hear from you. Let's go back to the phone calls. Let's talk to Scott. Scott, welcome to the program, man. What's happening?
Not much. Yourself, how you doing?
I'm doing well today. What's on your mind?
I believe that they should keep Aaron Rodgers for a couple of reasons.
Okay.
For one, if he is going to give some money back, and he actually can, the Packers use it for offensive weapons for him. We haven't really had a good number one wide receiver the last year because we know Lazard's the number 3, pretty much, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And tight ends, DeGuara, he gets ate up by the turf all the time. He can't run when he gets the ball. And Tunyon hasn't done really good this last year either, but he did come off the ACL. So if they get a good tight end and a good wide receiver, I think they're going to be good on offense again. On defense, Savage, he can go. I don't really see much good for him. And then the other reason would be to keep Rodgers is he never really had a good backup quarterback in a long time either. So if something did happen, you do have somebody if you keep Love for 1 year, one more year or whatever. If he does not, or if we get a good trade offer or something, then let him go. It's his 4th year. If he was that good, they would have been playing him a lot more, or they wouldn't have been dealing with all the Rodgers drama every year. Right?
Right. No, I completely agree. I just kind of, when we went through the rosters of the teams that are there right now in the NFC and AFC championship games, you wonder really in reality how far away the Packers are. And then if Rodgers, because if the Packers aren't anywhere near those teams personnel wise, you got to wonder if Rodgers has that ability to elevate those around him to be that much better, to put them on the same playing plane as the teams that are in the NFC and AFC championship right now. Because if he's not, then he's not the guy anymore. You know what I mean?
No, I'm with you, but I think they do. I mean, they just need a couple more one defensive guy next to Kenny Clark. He's getting triple teamed, double teamed all the time. If you get another stud down there on the line and you get a better safety, because there was nobody actually tackling guys for losses or anything like that. Guys are running free deep. I think you need a safety. You need a defensive lineman. You need a tight end that can actually do something in the middle of the field, because they haven't really played the middle of the field for passing in how many years, right?
Right. No, I completely agree.
And then one good wide receiver.
I think you need, and I've said this before, thanks for the phone call. You need a wide receiver. And I'm not talking about a wide receiver that's just kind of a filling guy. You need to find one. You need to find one dude off the free agent market or via trade that you got to garner. You got to get one guy. That's a lot of pay grade above Sammy Watkins. Okay. The next would be a tight end, and tight end you can draft. You can find a decent tight end. You can still mix him in with Tanyan. You can still get that job done. That's understandable. And I still think you have enough pieces to make something out of it. But you got to remember, Devontae, MVS, Equinemius St. Brown, Alan Lazard, 4 mainstays of your offensive weaponry would then be gone within a period of 2 years. And that's tough to have everybody change over. Watcher says Savage is a bust. He wasn't a bust. He didn't play well in the beginning of part of this year. He did play well at the end part of this year. And early on in his career, he was a hitter. He was solid. Now that they figured out a better place to put him in this defense, in the slot, he was a better player. So he's not a bust. Pac-Fan says the notion that Rodgers is going to give money back is pretty ridiculous. I want to offer you a promotion for your channel viewers, for whatever. Guaranteed, auto on, individually flexible, blah, blah, blah. In your hands, turn it on, turn it off. Okay. It was, when you talk about whether or not you're going to give money back, it's because it's not about giving money back. It's maybe about restructuring or making things voidable to where it's easier on the team. And again, it goes, if indeed it's not about the money, and I've said all along, look, for $60 million, he's coming back. Okay. I've said that from the very beginning. So don't misconstrue what I'm saying. Like he's just going to give this huge, generous portion back. There's going to be restructuring. There's going to be some changes to it that are not going to make the team so financially hurt. You can stretch it out. You can add a year. Whatever it is you want to do, they can do whatever they want to do, and he can do whatever he wants to do. He may have to do that just if he indeed is going to be traded, he may have to do that just to get traded. Because the Packers, would you rather pay $40-50 million and not have him and start instead of $226 million as a salary cap at $186 million as a salary cap? Because it straps your team. So he would probably have to adjust some things. But also remember, when you're coming to the end of your career and you've got a ton of money, and he does, he's made over, I think they estimated at $350-400 million total with endorsements and such. If he's got that, now you're playing for legacy. You're playing for a championship. You're not playing for money anymore. You're not playing for the commercial. Unless he took a massive bath in the crypto, right? So you're playing for your legacy, for 1 or 2 years for your legacy. That's what you're doing. That's why you come back, because it's competitive. Because if you're coming back strictly for the money, at that age, you should get out. And then it becomes incredibly obvious to everybody. 877-867-1670. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Pindel. Go to PINDEL.com if you're looking for a quality manufacturing or machining company to work with or work for or have a career with. Check out our friends at Pindel. PINDEL.com. Go to Pindel.com. That is PINDEL.com. Pindel.com.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back to the program. Good to have you. A lot of people chiming in with what the Packers need. You know what? I have not gotten that deep into the draft, and I probably won't. I know who was it? I think Mel Kiper just dropped his first draft preview or something like that. I haven't even looked at it. I don't get into the draft really until after we get back from Super Bowl and start, getting through the combine. And then at that point, I look at the draft a little bit more. Other than that, I don't delve into that too much. Says, this team with a face, like Madonna's new one. That made me laugh. I like that. Oh my God, this is cold too. I will say this though, you don't even know it's Madonna. She can walk by you and punch you right in the face, and you would have no clue. Compared to what she used to look like to what she is today, oh, she's had so much work. Holy crap! She does have a mug. I'll give you that. Oh man. Oh God, that made me laugh. That's pretty funny. I don't care who you are. 877-867-1670. Let's hit up Teddy listening to us in Brookfield. Teddy, how you doing today, man? What's going on?
Hey, Bill. It's a hell of a day. Snow came down. Things are white around here.
Yep, nothing wrong with that.
See,
not this time of year,
In my opinion, there's only two questions you need to ask to see if Rodgers is gone. And if they're both yes, he's gone tomorrow. The first question is, did this season suck beyond the stars? I mean, beyond the stars. I would say a resounding yes. Second, is there another team that will give 2 first-round draft choices for Rodgers' services? And I say it's a resounding yes, yes, and yes. So he is so done in Green Bay. He is so gone. His bag's already packed. Now, look at this stupid season. And, hey, I'm not going to hide that I hate this franchise so bad because they are so worthless and they make the stupidest decisions a man could ever dream. Now, we had another great stupid season where we're losing every game and people are falling down. Rodgers is playing like crap, but it comes down to the last game of the season. They're playing Detroit at home. Everyone is saying, we just pulled this season out of a crap hole and we're going to the playoffs. Now, hey, if that would have happened, if this stupid team would have won that game, then I would say it's 50-50 that Rodgers is sticking around. Mm-hmm. But they lost that game and they lost it so bad. And Rodgers doesn't even know which side is up and which side is down. I mean, unfortunately, he's benefited from, or he's not benefited from, just very poor coaching. And LaFleur, he's gotten too close to LaFleur and they're good buddies. And unfortunately, he doesn't really respect that relationship. He does what he wants to do, and that's it. And we've seen a sort of frustration on the part of coaches going, we don't know what he's doing out there. We don't know where he's throwing it. So if they keep him around, what does that say about the love dove? If they keep him around, hey, we just had a season that sucked beyond the stars. Let's keep Rodgers here so we can have another season that just might go beyond sucking into a whole nother galaxy.
I appreciate the phone call. First of all, he has benefited from just, some of the guys he's had around him. Some of the guys he's gotten on the same wavelength with. What he has not benefited from is the addition of weapons on a consistent basis. And part of the problem is that once you make a lot of money, it then becomes more and more difficult. Plus, when you start getting guys that all come up together and win championships together, you start paying these guys and you can't pay everybody. You let some guys go. And if you don't hit in the draft, you go back, was it 3 and 4 years ago? That draft those 2 drafts really, really hurt this franchise. Really hurt this franchise. Just really did. When you go back to 2018, you got Jair left and nobody else from 2018. 2019, you got 3 guys and nobody else. So 4 guys in 2 years worth of draft that are still on the team, mind you, still on the team. And then the next year, you picked up John Runyon, you picked up Jake Hansen, you picked up A.J. Dillon, obviously Jordan Love in 2020. But the 2 years prior, you've got a total of 4 guys off that team. You know, that those 2 drafts are where it really kind of tripped up the finish line, so to speak, for this franchise, in my opinion. Then you got to go out and spend money to fortify those spaces, and you start fortifying those spaces, then you're in trouble again. And it is what it is. But when you talk about hating the franchise for just all the bad decisions, they've had a lot of good ones too. I mean, I'm not saying that the franchise has done everything wrong or everything right, but I'm not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I mean, let's be honest. They were in an NFC championship game just a couple of years ago. They were the number 1 overall seed last year. Yes, they did not advance. They did not win it. But to say that they're just a bad team, bad franchise, no, you can't say that. And again, you go back, I think it was to last year, prior to this season, and you look at the winningest franchises over the last decade. I think the Packers are only second to the Patriots. You can't say they're the worst franchise. They're the most terribly mistaken franchise. You can't say that, because that's just erroneous. Did they win Super Bowls? No, that I agree with. Obviously, that's a fact. But you can't say they're the worst. I'm not going to go from one extreme to the next. It's just you can't. This one is from Mark, who says, "Do you believe Rodgers could still play at a high level?" I do. And here's the reason why. This upcoming season will tell me if he can't. And I know people are going, what did you just see? What I saw was the changing of the guard at a lot of weapons. I saw a mismatch offensive line for a majority of the season. I saw some injuries. I saw the quarterback bust up a thumb. I saw a lot. You had a tight end coming back from an ACL. You had a guard coming back from an ACL. You had on again, off again, on again, off again, on again, off again, on again, off again, off, and then on from your left tackle position. You had some mismatched guys. Obviously you had an on again, off again, on again, off again, on again, off again from your top wide receiver who you just drafted. You had same old out of Randall Cobb, where he's always going to miss a few games because of injury. And then he has a good season, then he goes down with injury, and then it takes him a while to come back. All these things contributed together to that. And just when, like a couple of years ago, when you thought, okay, you better draft Jordan Love because Aaron Rodgers had a down season, and then he came back and kicked ass. I want to see what this year brings. I really do. Whether it's here or somewhere else, I want to see what this year brings. Because just something tells me when you start to look at guys, just when you think they're down, just when you think they're out, here they come again. And the great ones, they do it. People thought when Brady left, boy, he's going to bring Gronk. He's going to put together an old team, and they're not going to win anything. He's going to look old. He's going to look bad. And sure enough, he won a Super Bowl. Matthew Stafford, get him out of Detroit. They're going to put enough around him. All he's got to do is manage the game. Got to a Super Bowl, won a Super Bowl. Not that he was great, but you know what? You get my point. Rodgers gets a few more pieces around him, comes back with some comfort, comes back with a chip on his shoulder. We've seen him do it in the past. I think he's got another great year in him. I really do. And, you can talk about great regular season quarterbacks and such, like people are saying. But when you've got a ring, you can't say he's just a great regular season quarterback. And I defend, because they say, well, look at what he is in NFC championship games. Okay. Again, Mostert ran wild over to the defense. They had no business being in San Francisco, but they got there because of Rodgers. That's when the defense was majorly exposed. In Dallas, they never should have been there. They get to Dallas, the pass to Jared Cook, the field goal puts them in an NFC championship game. They never should have been there. Then that defense kicked the hell out of them. And the offense ran over a bad Packers defense. 2014. Julius Peppers telling Morgan Burnett to go down. Not Rodgers' fault. Rodgers didn't have a great game, but not Rodgers' fault. They should have won that game. That was one of the best games, best coach games of Mike McCarthy's career, because they had no business being there, and they were the better team that day. And had they won that game, I firmly believe they win a championship. They played well enough to win. Micah Hyde not knowing to be on a 2-point conversion. Bostic going up and getting that ball when all they had to do was fall on it and the game's over, and they're in the Super Bowl. So I'm not blaming all of that on Rodgers. You want to just put it out there as a number and act like it's proving a point, but you're not delving deep enough and looking at it. You know? David said, what was the excuse last year against the 49ers? Played bad. Offense played bad. I've always said that. David, apparently you don't listen, or you got stuff in your ears. The last 2 years have been bad. Last year against San Francisco, and the year before that against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And also turnovers. Aaron Jones coughing up the football twice, once against the Lions, once against the Buccaneers. Mercedes Lewis coughing up the football against the 49ers. Those things hurt, and they never recovered from it. And that's part of the mettle of a Matt LaFleur-led team. When they face a devastating controversy like that, they don't have the character to battle back all the time. It seems like they roll, and then adversity hits, and boom, they fold their tents and play some kind of conservative football. It's happened time and again. We've seen it. You know, and don't forget, when you go back to San Francisco, it was special teams that cost them. It wasn't the defense. It was the special teams and the offensive line. Rodgers was under siege. After A.J. Dillon went down, they couldn't run the ball against that defense. And it was Alan Lazard and Devontae Adams. And so what they did was no running game and no Devontae. Now win the game. And they couldn't. I agree with you. But don't forget, they were scoring on special teams because the special teams were so bad. So you can lay it at his feet, but you're really ignorant if you just say it's as simple as that, because it's not. 876, and I'm a guy that'll rip the hell out of Aaron Rodgers when he plays poorly, but I'm telling you, it's not all Rodgers. And if you think it is, you're fooling yourself because you've got a bias. 877-867-1670. Final segment coming up next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Even when the weather outside is frightful, your energy bill could be much more delightful. Hi, I'm Gina Della from Pella. Replacing drafty windows and doors can dramatically lower your energy costs. Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin offers some of the most energy efficient windows in the industry, designed to keep the cold outside where it belongs. You'll help kick the January blues when you choose to book by the 31st for 0% interest up to 2029. You heard that right. No interest up to the year 2029 if you book by January 31st. Pella's premium wood windows and patio doors feature distinguished craftsmanship and nearly endless possibilities, with maximum design flexibility in dramatic sizes, custom colors, finishes, profiles, product types, and more. Hurry. To get the 0% interest up to 2029, you have to book by January 31st. Visit PellaWI.com.
Certain restrictions apply.
This January, hit the road. The road to riches at Potawatomi Casino Hotel. Play each day for thousands in free play and entries into the big $200,000 grand finale. The more you play, the closer you get to big money. So hit the road, Jack, or Jill, or whatever your name might be. The road to riches, only at Potawatomi. For more details, visit paysbig.com/road-to-riches. Must be 21 years old to play.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Now, here's Mike Clemens.
The Philadelphia Eagles are getting ready to host the 49ers in the NFC Championship game this Sunday. The Eagles lost 2 of their last 4 games before dominating the Giants 38-7. Eagles running back Miles Sanders rushed for 90 yards, averaging over 5 yards per carry in the divisional game.
Got to play your best ball. That's what we've been trying to praise and do each and every game this whole season. We still think we haven't played our best ball, but just happy to get this dub and still hungry, and we're not done.
The 49ers have won 12 straight games, the longest winning streak for the franchise since 1984. Joe Montana was the quarterback. Brock Purdy has won 7 in a row. Running back Christian McCaffrey.
We're winning. We got to just do the same thing as we always do every week, and that's correct the mistakes that we make and capitalize on the strengths and keep rolling and play our best game come Sunday.
The team says they're dealing with the news that backup defensive end Charles Omenihu was arrested Monday night in San Jose, charged with suspicion of domestic violence. The 49ers are back in the NFC Championship game for a 3rd time in 4 years under head coach Kyle Shanahan.
We've been here before, and it's very hard to get here. So we're not really reflecting on anything yet. We've got a big game this week, and that's not our ultimate goal either. So in order to do that, we got to make sure we take care of business.
And Aaron Rodgers on the McAfee show says he needs some time off before committing to a 19th NFL season.
I don't think you can wake up on January 24th and say, all right, I'm ready to, go run this thing back. I think even when you're in the midst of a career, in the middle of a career, there's always, moments where you're like, man, I need a couple more months.
That's Aaron Rodgers. I'm Mike Clemens on the Bill Michaels Show.
Wisconsin Expo Center. Look for our friends over there at Skipper Buds. They're going to be there. Todd and the gang, Skipper Buds in Pewaukee specifically, where they have new boats, used boats, all kinds of boats, yachts, pontoons, fishing boats, whatever it happens to be. Check them out, and they're going to be at the boat show. So coming up tomorrow, Ben, what do we got?
We have Mo Egger.
My boy Mo from Cincinnati.
Talk about the Bengals game,
Yeah.
as well as Jim Ozarski, a lowdown on whatever's going on with the Bucs. I saw Bobby Portis today.
Yeah.
Ruled out with an injury, so they can't really catch a break there.
Yeah, every time it seems like they're just ready to go, then somebody else goes down. But they, at least when they got everybody back, they finally, won a game and look convincing doing it. So it's not terrible in that sense. But yeah, I agree with you. It has been a tough road as of late for the Milwaukee Bucks. So That being said, so we're going to talk with Mo Egger tomorrow about Cincinnati and their road to go. And they're excited. I want to talk to Mo more so about this whole thought that the whole world's against them. And by the way, remember last week when we were doing the quarterback songs? Remember that?
I do. Yes.
When Joe came on, my old next door neighbor, and he wrote the Jackpot Joey song, and we put it out there, and I guess they tagged it, and he finally made the news in Cincinnati. They're finally picking it up. It's gone crazy. Now the people are actually hearing it. So there you go. So look, we launch careers, man. That's what we do here. We're fantastic in that sense. So that's coming up tomorrow. We're going to talk with Mo Egger and company. So it'll be a good one tomorrow. We'll start getting into the AFC and the NFC championship games. Tonight's going to talk a lot of football, a lot more as we got the Bill Michaels Huddle. We're going to be out on the road. Going to be at the New Berlin Ale House, 6 to 8 tonight. The New Berlin Ale House. Looking forward to it. Compliments of our friends at Bud Light. And I'll be there. Is Mike Clemens going to join us in person tonight, did he say?
I don't think so. He will be on the phone.
He will be on the phone. Okay. Well, that's okay. That's okay. We got a lot of good stuff coming up tonight. So we're going to be out there. So come on by. Maybe grab yourself some dinner. Hang out for a little bit. It's all brought to you by our friends at Bud Light. Don't forget a special broadcast live from the Distillery in Grafton coming up on Friday. Doors open at 11. Broadcast begins at 10 a.m., though. On the air till 2. Giving away a big screen TV so it's in your home for championship weekend. Looking forward to that. All again brought to you by our friends at Bud Light. So until we talk later on tonight,